Right in the middle of class, Kang Han-soo and his classmates are suddenly transported to another world. They were summoned by a goddess to help save this world from the demon lord and his army of monsters. She promised superpowers for everyone and the chance to save thousands of innocent people. And once they defeat the demon lord, she promises to send them all back home. Everyone accepts her terms except for our hero. But Kang Han-soo firmly states that he wants to go home no matter what the goddess offers. Surprisingly, the goddess agrees to let him go, and even asks the others if anyone else wants to back out. She suggests sending all the weaker ones back together. Kang Han-soo doesn't have any friends in his class, so no one volunteers to join him. He gets ready to head back alone, but that's when things take an unexpected turn. The portal drops him in a completely unknown place, and things only get crazier from there. He spots some humanoid beasts, a group of furious women enslaving an elf, and now all eyes are on him. Their malicious intentions are crystal clear, and Han-soo starts to panic, frozen on the spot. He knows that he is completely screwed, so he does the only thing that makes sense in this messed up situation. He runs for his life as fast as he possibly can, because if he gets caught, he's a total goner. Meanwhile, all the other students are teleported to a sanctuary city. Proglonia, the saintess of the Grand Temple, welcomes the heroes who have arrived in this fantasy dimension. Several other gods are also present. She introduces herself and says that she has been waiting for them ever since she received the goddess's oracle. She tells the students about another god, Alzus, a master of the sword and prince of the Swordmaster Kingdom. He will be their sword-fighting instructor. The girls are thrilled to see him, immediately captivated by his handsome looks. Suddenly, the saintess asks about their other instructor. Before anyone can reply, the princess herself arrives. She loudly admits that she fell asleep after having a little too much to drink. The saintess comments that Princess Atena's honesty is both a virtue and a flaw, advising her to maybe not mention the drinking part next time. Just then, the princess faints, much to the hero's surprise. A few of them can't help but comment on her beauty. Atena Archmason, the princess of the Archmason kingdom, is introduced as the hero's magic instructor. The saintess informs the heroes that Princess Atena and Prince Alzus will be looking after them. At that moment, a student named Hang Woo, who had opened his status window, starts sharing the information with others. He points out that they'll get to see stuff like this all the time as they level up and improve their skills. Han-soo is closely observing his own status window, trying to figure it all out. He received the hero's blessing, which automatically translates languages. He sees it as kind of a cheat skill, but he's worried because many of the other students received the exact same blessing. While this is happening, Choi Kang-min asks the saintess why the goddess instructed them to receive blessings from other gods and how they're supposed to do it. She explains that to receive a blessing, one must earn the favor of a god, since each deity has their own unique criteria. Suddenly, everyone is notified that a god is examining the heroes' bodies with a wicked smile. They are all surprised by this. The saint explains that each god has their own standards, but they are all looking for the one who will defeat the great demon king. He also assures them that the gods are, in fact, watching them, but warns that their attention won't last forever. He wishes them all the best of luck. One of the students asks if it's possible to receive a blessing, but the saint just smiles and dismisses the idea. He says he has no interest in dealing with trash, which makes the students feel uneasy. Their adventure in a fantasy world full of hopes and dreams is about to begin. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, a boy named Kang is being chased by monsters. Kang is completely exhausted, so he stops to catch his breath. Suddenly, one of the monsters shoots an arrow at him. They're approaching with the intention of devouring him, and Kang concludes there's no need to overthink this. Creatures like these don't exist back on Earth. He's starting to believe the goddess deceived him and never intended to send him back. He starts running again, telling himself that if this is a fantasy world, some kind of miraculous event should happen to save him. Just then, a status window suddenly appears right in front of him. He's confused about why hero is listed under the curse category. He suspects this is a malicious attempt to get rid of him, and is still in disbelief at receiving such a punishment. He notices the automatic translation function and realizes he might be able to communicate with them. He yells at them, asking if they can just talk things out. The monsters start screaming, surprised that their meal can talk. Kang whimpers that he just wants to see his parents and begs them for mercy. Suddenly, an arrow hits him in the leg. He sees a bunch of fairies shooting arrows at the monsters and figures a battle has broken out. Seeing a battle break out between these fantasy creatures, he seizes the opportunity to flee. Overcome with grief, he swears he will never pray to that goddess again. Meanwhile, a god is watching him. Suddenly, he gets a notification that a specific god is looking right at him. Kang decides he would rather die than pray to any god. Suddenly, a notification from a specific god pops up. Not even understanding what's happening, he starts begging to be saved. He feels his body moving faster. Then his mind can process responding to an unknown voice. He's notified that the god is asking why he is alone. Kang is about to answer, but hesitates, realizing he can't tell the truth. He wonders if this voice belongs to that same goddess or maybe one of her allies. Desperate and overwhelmed, he begs for salvation and asks if any other god will intervene. He receives a notification that a god is particularly skeptical, and he murmurs that it's unlikely any other god is even here. He adds that it's probably a good thing the others are absent. Kang, writhing in pain, asks if the god is a stranger. The god isn't familiar with the term stranger. Kang thinks he used the wrong word, guessing that in their language it means something like an outcast. He's afraid that trying to explain it might just get him cursed again. Instead, he says that a stranger is like a lone wolf wandering through the desert. Apparently, the god likes this definition. Relieved, Kang asks to be saved once again. At that moment, the god asks if Kang is truly a stranger. Kang lies, claiming that he's also a stranger, explaining that his classmates were summoned to the temple while he was left all alone. The god seems confused by this explanation. Kang insists that it's common sense for one stranger to help another, but the god suggests this doesn't apply to him since he's a god. After a moment of reflection, the god decides to help the poor stranger. Using his power, the god magically removes the arrow from Kang's leg. Kang feels the intense pain disappear completely. His body also feels lighter. Gratefully, he thanks the god. Then, he notices his status window now shows stranger's blessing. Interestingly, he reads that a terrible thing will happen if the lone wolf leaves the desert. He's confused by this message. Kang asks the god if he'll be judged once he's no longer a stranger. The god answers, emphasizing that he will only help a stranger. Just then, the monsters spot him and he takes off running. Kang resumes his race for life, recalling the message that he's immune to all status effects except death, thanks to the god's blessing. His fatigue vanishes and he no longer feels tired. Meanwhile, the monsters are running out of steam and can't keep up. Chasing him. Suddenly, one of the monsters throws a stone at Kang, but it misses and he keeps running. He silently thanks the god, feeling rejuvenated. He then receives another notification from the god, assuring him that he won't die from a simple stone. Kang expresses his gratitude once more. Finally, Kang reaches a cliff's edge. As the message suggested, he realizes all status effects except death will be removed. He believes that as long as he isn't killed instantly, even critical wounds will heal. In a moment of uncertainty, he asks the god if he would survive a fall from this cliff. The god informs him that a fall from this height would be fatal. Kang is overcome with worry as the monsters close in. Cornered with the cliff before him and the monsters behind him, Kang decides to make his move. He shouts a proposal to the monsters. He tells them he knows they're hungry, but there isn't enough of him to go around. Instead, he offers them a deal. Whoever catches him first gets to enjoy his delicious meat. Excited by the idea of being the first to capture Kang, the monsters rush toward him enthusiastically. Kang observes their fixation on his flesh and thinks to himself that while he doesn't mind the attention, it's clear these creatures are obsessed. With a smile, he jumps off the cliff, dragging the pursuing monsters down with him. After a while, he opens his eyes to discover he hasn't died. His body feels as if it's been crushed, but he figures that might just be his imagination. He slowly gets up, surprised to still be alive. Suddenly, a notification appears informing him that a particular god is impressed by the stranger's incredible ability to survive. Just as it's processing this, one of the monsters approaches him, intending to devour his flesh. Kang checks the creature's status window, the Blue Moon's Butcher, and deduces that the man's survival, despite having no blessings, has made him an intriguing target. In the worlds of many video games and fantasy role-playing games, characters level up by gaining experience from defeating powerful enemies. Higher-level enemies offer more experience points, making them much more valuable to defeat. Kang picks up a nearby stone, uses it to hit the monster, and successfully kills it. Meanwhile, back with the students, the saint informs them that leveling up and receiving blessings are the two key ways to get stronger. You can level up by gaining experience from defeating beings with status windows, or you can get blessings directly from the gods. Choi Kang-min, confident in his skills, decides to pray to the gods for a blessing to increase his strength. Just as he does, the saint interrupts, reminding the students that receiving a blessing doesn't mean the process is over. The gods will be constantly observing them, monitoring their actions. Yora raises his hand with a confused expression and asks if this means the gods will be watching them all day, every day. The saint nods to confirm. Some students feel self-conscious, thinking that the gods might be watching them even during their most private moments like bathing or using the restroom. At this point, the saint addresses their concerns and explains that the gods are not human beings. She asks them not to judge the gods by human standards. Some gods speaking through the status windows assure Yora that they have no interest in observing such worldly activities. Suddenly, Janmyeon, also known as I Hyot, is chosen by the gods. They make it clear that they'll grant better blessings to those they find interesting. Some gods express admiration for her actions, and as a result, she receives a blessing. She smiles happily, although the students are wondering what she'll do with this new power. It becomes clear when the blessing manifests as charm of power that causes her body to emit a captivating fragrance, constantly increasing her chances of attracting the opposite sex. However, the saint quickly intervenes, instructing her to refrain from using the charm blessing. Immediately, Jang protests, admitting that she doesn't know how to stop the effect. At that moment, a certain innocent goddess expresses her displeasure over the impure nature of such a blessing. The saint, shaking her head, acknowledges that it's already too late, as Yang will now face the consequences of her actions. The students are surprised to witness this turn of events. The saint then explains that while the gods can grant blessings, they also have the power to cast curses on heroes they consider undesirable. Jang, surprised, admits she didn't know about this possibility. The saint explains that she was just about to inform them of this crucial detail. Model. As the punishment begins to take effect, Yang screams in pain. She apologizes, but the saint explains that once a hero has received a blessing or curse, it will remain with them until their death. Furthermore, the effects will become more powerful as their rank increases, and its level will never decrease once it has been raised. Jay, deeply concerned, expresses how painful the curse is at its current low rank. She fears that at higher levels, the pain may become unbearable or even fatal. The saint approaches her, offering words of comfort and reassurance. He tells Jay not to give up, explaining that the blessings can help counteract the effects of curses. As Jay's level climbs and she strengthens her body and mind, the pain will gradually decrease. Meanwhile, Kang is still in the jungle, wondering why his level hasn't increased despite having killed several monsters. He suspects it might be due to a curse or because leveling up is just inherently more difficult in this world. After a while, he contacts God to get some useful information. God, with his usual distant attitude, simply instructs Kang to call upon a stranger. Kang, somewhat frustrated by the lack of useful guidance from God, decides to fulfill his promise and asks again. The god gives a brief answer, simply saying yes. Kang feels that aside from the blessing, the god isn't much help. Despite this, he decides to cling to the blessing, appreciating the one benefit it provides. After wandering the jungle for hours, he realizes he feels no thirst, hunger, or even fatigue. Suddenly, Kang notices that some monsters are approaching his position. He hides behind a tree, thinking that encountering a person here could mean trouble, since this land might be overrun by monsters and devoid of other humans. At that moment, a private god sends him a message, informing him that a powerless stranger will die a peaceful death shortly. Kang wonders about the god's cryptic statement, but decides to remain cautious. The monsters, upon catching the scent, become disoriented and can't determine which direction to go. Kang, feeling more energetic and now equipped with a knife that once belonged to the Butcher of Blue Moon, considers his next move. The blade is sharp and he's ready to use it. Meanwhile, God offers prayers of support, assuring him that he won't meet an early death. Noticing the nearby vines, Kang decides to cut them. As he works, he feels God's presence watching over him with hazy eyes. He ties the knife firmly in a makeshift sheath before turning to the god and asking if he's familiar with centrifugal force. Using the vine, Kang ties a stone to it and starts spinning it, preparing to show the monsters the power of science. He balances it, and although he feels that the force could drag him down, he stands firm. Every time the blessing activates, his legs stop trembling and his breathing stabilizes. With renewed confidence, he launches the vine to hit the monsters, with the stone, all while continuing to improve his control over the stranger's blessing. Kang quickly realizes he doesn't have to sweat the small stuff like minor cuts or exhaustion anymore. As long as he avoids a fatal blow, his blessing will automatically heal him. This realization allows him to fight on the brink of death without fear. One by one, he takes down the monsters. However, Kang starts to notice their cunning tactics. They're trying to wear him down by dragging out the fight. These monsters are more nasty and intelligent than he first thought. Even so, he relentlessly continues to strike them down. At one point, a monster tries to grab him from behind, but Kang is ready for it. He hefts the stone and strikes it hard, declaring they'll get the same treatment as the others. After a long battle, Kang finally emerges victorious, having defeated all the monsters. He approaches the last one and demands to know where the humans live. The creature reluctantly points toward the human settlement. Then Kang asks about the monster species, to which the creature replies that they're known as gnolls. Without hesitation, Kang kills the creature with a final blow from his stone. He muses that if the monsters had been honest with him, he might have spared their lives, but then again, he never promised them any mercy. Meanwhile, back at the temple, Prince Alice informs the heroes that their official training will begin the next day. He explains that he'll be teaching swordsmanship while Princess Athena will handle magic training. He adds that the heroes are free to choose whichever path they prefer. Suddenly, Choi raises his hand saying he wants to sign up for both training sessions. Prince Alice acknowledges his request, but warns him that both courses are demanding and might be too much for one person to handle. Then Hanu speaks up. He asks the prince if it would be okay for him to skip the lessons entirely. Prince Alice assures him that he's free to make his own decisions. Hanu, seeking even more freedom, asks if it's possible for him to leave the temple during his free time. The prince confirms that he's welcome to do so. The next day, Prince Alice gathers the heroes and tells those who wish to follow the knight's path to come with him. He assures them they can always change their minds. Later on, if they find this path isn't a good fit for them, he instructs those interested in magic to wait, as Princess Athena hasn't arrived yet. As they're getting ready, the heroes check their status windows. Hanu notices a special entry right above his blessing, indicating that he is the most chosen person in the world. This blessing, he realizes, is unique to him and can only be seen and experienced by him. Filled with glee, Hanu reflects on how Choi, for all his arrogance, still has no idea what his own status truly means. Later, outside the temple, Hanu reflects on the situation, concluding that if someone like Choi had actually put in their best effort, they would have at least gotten an A-rank blessing rivaling the main character. After a while, Hanu finds himself in the city square of Perleguina, thinking he's come to the right place. He's here to join the Mercenary Guild and kick off his grand adventure. The place is bustling with fighters. The receptionist greets him and asks what brings him in. He replies that he wants to register as a mercenary. Suddenly, a girl approaches him and tells Hanwoo that this is no place for someone so inexperienced. She tells him to stop saying such silly things and go back to his hometown. She says she's seen plenty of impulsive boys like him become mercenaries only to die. Meanwhile, Hanwoo believes this is the effect of his blessing, which is a major skill increase for the protagonist. He approaches the girl and asks if she's listening. Hanwoo wonders if this beautiful, helpful mercenary is actually a princess or a high-ranking noblewoman in disguise. He smiles, thinking this must be the destiny of a protagonist. There's no doubt it's the effect of his special blessing. Suddenly, he declares that he doesn't want to return and that she should just accompany him if she's so worried. He goes on to say that judging a book by its cover isn't a good habit. He's sure she has experienced that herself many times too. The girl just smiles and replies that she understands. Hanwoo is thrilled, thinking he's truly exceptional in this world. After that, he informs the girl that while he can't say much, he has been chosen. Even though on Earth, Hanwoo had a hard time speaking so fluently with a beauty like her in this world, he's a hero destined to save it. Suddenly, the girl wonders how these chosen ones accumulate their skills. He replies that she'll soon realize the main benefit of being the protagonist. Meanwhile, over in the jungle, a monster assures Kang that it's not lying and that the human village is to the west. Kang thanks it for the information before smashing it with a rock. Afterward, he remarks that these gnolls are surprisingly honest. They're so simple-minded that you can instantly tell when they're lying. Kang figures he still doesn't know the exact distance to the human village, but he confirms the direction by asking a few more gnolls, leaving no room for doubt. He also reflects that his desperate struggle with the gnolls has quickly turned into a hunt. As he defeats more of them, he's gone from being the prey to an experienced hunter overnight. Of course, Kang suffered many serious injuries while learning how to hunt. Thanks to his outsider's blessing, he learned to fight quickly. His clothes were torn to shreds while fighting the monsters. He's excited, almost crazed, because even after being seriously injured so many times, he feels unstoppable. Soon he'll meet the natives of this fantasy world in the human village. A god murmurs that he's sorry. Kang asks if it wants him to die. He receives the answer that this particular god doesn't care what happens to him. Suddenly another monster attacks him, but he defends himself with a butcher knife. Kang worries that there's no end to these gnolls. No matter how many he kills, they just keep coming. He fights back, stabbing them with his knife. Kang is now upset because he's not leveling up at all. He thinks he must have killed dozens of gnolls with levels higher than his own, so this shouldn't be a problem. He receives a message that a certain god is growing restless. After defeating the monsters once again, he hears the language of a friendly race that he can't understand. He starts looking around cautiously and sees that they're firing arrows at some poor person who is being chased by a carnivorous plant. He considers his own definition of friendship. It might be different from the one he's used to. Just then he spots a few human swordsmen and a woman. He figures they must be mercenaries. The moment the woman sees Kang, she draws a weapon on him. They all prepare to attack. He quickly says he's just looking for friendly people. She puts her dagger away and sits down, gesturing. He's totally against violence, so he makes it clear he won't fight. Naturally, they can't understand each other's language, but humans communicate with more than just words. His body language shows he wants to avoid a conflict, and his friendly tone is meant to put them at ease. He knows they can't have a deep conversation this way, but it should be enough to communicate his peaceful intentions. But then the woman draws an arrow and aims it at him. Kang stops her, assuring her that he means no harm and that he comes in peace. The mercenaries finally lower their weapons. A little while later, Kang finds himself traveling with them through the dense forest. The lady and one of the men try speaking to him with serious faces, but their words are gibberish to Kang. Through gestures, he manages to learn her name, but that's it. He can't understand another word. It doesn't help that foreign languages were always the subject that tanked his grade point average. Still, Kang is relieved he finally met some friendly people. At least these people don't start shooting arrows on sight like the fairies, and with them around, he doesn't have to worry so much about monsters. He can't see their status windows, but he's positive that fully armed mercenaries are stronger than a level 1 nobody. A god messages him. He tells Kang he isn't acting like such an outsider anymore, but Kang ignores the comment. One particular god begs him not to be so dismissive. He replies that it's normal to talk more casually when you get closer to someone. Kang thinks that even though he's finally met people, the gods are the only ones he can actually talk to. However, he did manage to learn everyone's names by using a whole lot of body language. The older burly man is Gary. Kang assumes he's the leader of the group. He carries a giant sword without the slightest sign of fatigue. Kang can tell he's incredibly strong. Suddenly, another man named Cole calls out to him with a friendly smile. Cole is smaller than Gary, but he has a lean, muscular build that shows he's an experienced fighter, and he seems to laugh easily. He carries a longsword on each hip. The lady's name is Misa. She's the group's long-range attacker and uses a giant crossbow made of steel. Given its size, Kang figures that thing is meant for hunting monsters, not people. She suddenly points her finger in a certain direction. Kang realizes she's trying to show him something. In the distance, he sees a plume of smoke. It's not a forest fire. It looks like smoke coming from a chimney on a house. Kang is overjoyed to see a sign of civilization. Suddenly, he gets a notification that a certain god is looking at the bold stranger with displeasure. Kang mutters back that he's just trying to get along with them so he can finally get out of this forest. All of a sudden, they hear a noise. A large group of monsters is approaching. Kang is stunned by the sight of the monsters. He gets ready to fight, but Cole, Gary, and Misa move to intercept them, engaging the demons with their swords. Meanwhile, Misa aims her arrow at the gnolls. Suddenly, a gnoll lunges at her, but Kang saves her from the attack. This gnoll looks bigger than usual. Kang explains to a foreign god that humans are social creatures, and that's why they need to help these people. However, the god replies that it's not their concern. Just then, the gnoll attacks Kang, but he dodges with lightning speed and kills it with his dagger. The gnoll falls to the ground. Kang is aware that the mercenaries are right behind him. After a short battle, they defeat all the gnolls. Kang thanks them, saying he would have been in serious trouble without them, but they all just stare at him with grim expressions. Suddenly, Misa fires an arrow at Kang, hitting him squarely in the right shoulder. He collapses to the ground. The mercenaries surround Kang's seemingly lifeless body. Cole expresses his admiration for Misa's plan, saying that while the gnolls interrupted their original plan, Misa sees it as a positive turn of events. She comments that the gnolls' chaotic attack gave them a chance to see just how dangerous Kang truly is. She admits she had initially underestimated him, thinking that someone so slim would be weak. However, he not only fought better than she anticipated, but his strange foreign language also makes things more complicated. Bray suggests they stick to their original plan. Cole agrees, though he regrets how things turned out, adding that Kang probably would have been willing to be sold as a slave. Gary, ever the pragmatist, suggests they just take what they can from Kang's body. He says that grabbing the dagger is their best bet, as it might be worth more than they think. He points out that the intricate design on the dagger suggests it belongs to Fey royalty. Cole approaches Kang's body to retrieve the dagger, only to find Kang is still gripping it tightly. Misa warns Cole not to let his guard down. Cole, realizing the danger, decides he has to finish Kang off for good. However, before he can act, Cole notices Kang's status window. There are only two ways for someone to see another person's status window. Either the person shares it voluntarily, or it can be seen through a special blessing. Cole is completely stunned by this unexpected development. Just as he's trying to process this, Kang strikes him with the dagger. Gary and Misa, astonished by the sudden turn of events, can only watch as Cole collapses. Kang stands tall, seemingly unharmed. Enraged, Gary charges at Kang, but before he can land a blow, Kang moves with incredible speed and strikes him down with the dagger. Misa desperately tries to bring him down with her arrows, but discovers they have no effect. Unperturbed, Kang simply pulls the arrows from his body with a smile. Misa, now desperate, begs for her life, bowing before him in surrender. Kang murmurs something she can't understand before killing her in an instant. Afterward, Kang changes his clothes, still in disbelief. He reflects on what just happened, finding the memory of being shot deeply unsettling. He shares his thought with the god, feeling that it might have been appropriate, but the fact that it came from a woman made him uncomfortable. Meanwhile, a certain god laughs at his discomfort. A god comments on the stranger's unusual preferences, though Kang defends himself, clarifying it wasn't a matter of preference. He explains that Misa was the only one with a skin tone similar to his. Kang also decides to take her arrows, figuring they might be useful later. Meanwhile, Princess Atena returns to the temple and apologizes to her students for being late. She assures them that the lesson on the nature of magic will now begin. She informs them that for a long time, magic didn't exist on the continent of Fantasia. The students begin to murmur among themselves. Some dismiss magic as nonsense, while others argue that it's purely practical, focused on real-world applications. One girl suggests that magic is really just chemistry. Eubora, irritated by the chatter, scolds the others for bothering those who are trying to concentrate. Princess Atena, seizing the moment, states that magic is largely about talent, and that becoming familiar with mana is essential. She admits that she also dislikes unnecessary theories, highlighting that talent is the most important factor in mastering magic. The students, intrigued by her words, ask about the origins of magic. Princess Atena pauses, and then explains that magic is a field where natural talent surpasses everything else. She continues, pointing out that talent is often determined by lineage, although education and connections also play a role. She urges her students to never forget these truths. Princess Atena introduces herself as Atena Archmassing, the direct descendant of Sun Archmassing, the 12th disciple and third husband of the founder. She proudly declares that her lineage is significant, since it carries both the bloodline and the connections that come with it. The curious heroes ask her what that means for them. In response, Princess Atena explains that they are all connected to her through their education, and that being her disciples will allow them to unlock their highest potential. Eubora, feeling insecure, raises her hand and asks if someone without any lineage or connections could ever succeed in magic. Atena confidently assures her that it's possible, but emphasizes that they all start with a huge advantage because of their connection to her. Excited Atena walks over to Eubora, her enthusiasm palpable. She says that while she'll explain all the details later, for now, Eubora must step forward. Taking her hand, she announces that from this moment on, Eubora will be her apprentice. The room falls silent, and Eubora is visibly shocked. Atena further clarifies that she recognizes Eubora as her very first apprentice. Channon and Chuan-min exchange shocked glances, stunned by the sudden turn of events. Princess Atena then instructs Eubora to create a magical spirit. She remains still for a moment, unsure of how to proceed. After a brief pause, Atena congratulates her, declaring that Eubora is now a full-fledged magician. However, Eubora seems bewildered, confused by the rapid events unfolding around her. As the realization sinks in, his status window updates, confirming his new title. With a small smile, Atena admits she forgot to mention something important. Those who become apprentices earlier in their training receive a greater talent transfer. You still. Processing notices that a C-rank blessing appeared with his new title. He shares his observation, which leads Atena to explain that the blessing he received was the very talent she had mentioned before. With a thoughtful glance, Eubora reads the description for wizard in his status window, feeling a bit doubtful. He then voices his concern to Atena, explaining that without a father or a teacher who possesses the magic blessing, he doubts he can ever truly become a magician, no matter how hard he tries. Atena looks at him and asks if he now understands why talent is so crucial. Eubora, nodding in understanding, confirms that he does. Princess Atena, satisfied, acknowledges his question and offers a demonstration. She lifts a small luminous ball of magic in her hand, revealing that the founder, who eventually rose to become the god of magic, left a blessing for future generations. This blessing was designed to help his descendants and students quickly learn the ways of magic. Atena further explains that an average magician will depend on this blessing to use magic safely and efficiently. She calls this practice white magic. The students watch in amazement as the demonstration unfolds, clearly impressed by Princess Atena's mastery. After this, Atena shows them another trick where her hands appear to be on fire. The heroes are shocked to see this. She tells them that her talent is always needed for magic. She explains to the heroes that her right hand is using white magic with its blessing, while her left hand is using black magic without it. Suddenly, the head maid walks in. She pulls on Atena's cheeks and scolds her, saying it seems she forgot His Majesty's strict instructions not to use black magic. Atena replies that she only did it to help the heroes understand. The maid replies that she will report this to the queen. Atena quickly apologizes. Suddenly, a prince also enters to heal Atena while she begs the maid not to tell the queen about this. Meanwhile, Eubora is scared and apologizes for asking such a question to Princess Atena. Just as suddenly, Atena is fine and tells the heroes she's happy everyone now understands the danger of black magic. Some of the heroes ask about black magic and whether it's an evil power. She replies that black magic isn't inherently evil. Unlike the magic blessing passed down by the founder, black magic is like drawing on the raw magical power of nature itself. Meanwhile, Kang Han-soo arrives in a village and asks a guard if he needs dry firewood to light a fire. The guard doesn't understand, but Kang gestures and gives him some coins, and the guard suddenly understands what he means. He enters the village, noting all the armed people running around, and guesses it's because they're in a forest full of carnivorous plants. After a while, he takes a bath and dries himself off, musing that money is the best, since it allows him to befriend anyone even if they can't speak the same language. He receives a message from the god who says he's feeling uncomfortable. Kang replies that he's uncomfortable too since he's in the middle of a shower. He asks the god about its gender, and the god replies that the question just made things even more uncomfortable. Kang muses that anyone would claim to be a man to protect their dignity in that situation. Suddenly, the god gets worried. Kang asks why it's so scared. The god replies that it's a secret and decides to keep it to himself. Just then, Kang hears voices coming from outside his room. He shouts that he's bathing and asks them to wait a moment. Someone outside says they understand. Feeling on edge, Kang quickly gets dressed, thinking that the only person he could contact is currently out of town. He cautiously approaches the door. They exchange a few words, but Kang has a bad feeling that the person on the other side isn't human, but a member of a hostile race. Kang realizes the person in front of him isn't friendly and suspects the man might be a monster or part of a hostile race like the gnolls or even demons. As the door opens, Kang sits on the bed, hiding his daggers, and invites the person to come in. As the door swings open, Kang waits to see what kind of monster or person will appear. To his surprise, a human man walks in. Kang asks what's going on, and the man tells him not to worry, introducing himself as the village chief. He explains that he came to check on him after receiving a report about a traveler who was speaking a different language. Kang observes the chief closely, noticing he seems quite young for someone in his position. The chief, using his blessing of observation, can see Kang's status window, which makes Kang a little uncomfortable. The chief suggests that Kang tries to hide his status window but realizes it's useless against someone with the blessing of observation. The chief then mentions that he initially suspected Kang might be a fairy trying to infiltrate the village, but now believes he's just a traveler from a faraway land. He explains that the village has a complicated history with fairies. After losing their own homes due to their greed, the fairies ended up encroaching on human territories. Because of the resulting conflict, many people in this town lost their families. The chief reveals that the town is essentially a stronghold built by people who banded together to get their revenge. As a result, the town is full of mercenaries, though most of the original grievances have faded over time. Meanwhile, the god expresses its frustration with Kang's current predicament. The chief adds that the town is now full of inexperienced novices looking to gain battle experience. As the chief prepares to leave, he asks Kang one last question. He shows Kang a potion and explains that since his dinner was mixed with a paralyzing agent, he should be feeling its effects by now. However, the potion seems to have no effect. Now suspicious, Kang pulls out a dagger in response. Impressed, the chief explains the potion had no effect because Kang, just like the fairies, has a high resistance to them. He reveals that the potion is actually a spell designed for situations just like this, and explains that this type of potion resistance can't be broken, not even by the invisible rope he possesses. When the chief easily disarms Kang and takes the dagger, Kang is left completely surprised. The chief says that Kang's situation is unfortunate, but it's not the villagers' fault. A god tries to send Cain a warning. Cain's unease grows as the boss's intentions become clearer. Later, Cain finds himself imprisoned. The boss tells him that while the villagers are angry with the Genos, believing they are responsible for the loss of their families, the truth is that the Genos are also victims. The real culprits, according to the boss, are the fairies who pitted the two factions against each other to take the Genos' land. The boss reveals his own curse. calling it the karma of the one who bears the truth. His name is Crimson, and he is at level 16. He carries the Fairies' curse, which means he is the sworn enemy of the Fairies, and as a result, his life and youth have been shortened. Cain, confused, asks if the goddess is the one who bestows such curses. The boss replies that this curse is the result of the accumulated grudges from the Fairies he has murdered. He compares it to an honorable scar. Cain realizes that every curse has its own unique condition, and this is a direct consequence of the boss's actions. When Cain denies being a spy or having any particular contempt for him, the boss becomes more aggressive, placing a dagger to Cain's head. He tells Cain he changed his mind after seeing his dagger and asks where he got it. Cain simply lies, claiming he killed a fairy that shot an arrow at him. He also tells the boss that they may have a common enemy in the Fairies. Crimson seems impressed, commenting that Cain's skills must be considerable if he really killed a fairy. However, Cain adds that the fairy he killed had royal status. Crimson smiles and says that despite Cain's apparent ignorance, he's put himself in a quite precarious situation. Cain asks the boss to spare his life, but Crimson says it's a shame since Cain saw his status window. He reveals that he is a magician. Without a magic blessing, he's like a lone wolf running wild. Crimson cryptically adds that Cain will never be able to run wild again. The god meanwhile prays for Cain's luck in the hereafter. Crimson, demonstrating his black magic, makes a woman collapse to the floor, placing his foot on her body and claiming he is a dark wizard who must sacrifice others to prolong his life. He smiles and explains that although the fairy's curse is consuming him, he can continue to fight it by using sacrifices to extend his life. Crimson tells Cain that he will sacrifice him painlessly as a reward for the information about fairy royalty. Cain, maintaining his composure, smiles and sarcastically replies that the boss is very generous, despite his apparent bad intentions. Cain thinks that even if he was exiled by a god with a rotten personality, this isn't the worst, since he can still talk. He calls out to Chief Crimson and tells him he doesn't want to beg for his life. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Crimson urges him to continue expressing his desire to hear Cain's last words. Just then, something irritates him and he quickly kills the woman with his rope. Cain remains terrified and silent after that. Crimson asks what Cain wanted to say. In response, Cain reflects that the boss's actions seem abnormal, or perhaps he's putting on a show on purpose with the goal of being recognized as someone on the side of justice. Cain says that it has been a difficult journey without anyone recognizing his efforts. Crimson smiles and acknowledges him. Crimson seems to understand, and Kang replies that it's because he's a foreigner. Crimson responds that being an outsider means being a lone wolf wandering the wilds. Kang realizes that Crimson is also an outsider. Meanwhile, a god murmurs that Crimson is definitely not just some stranger. Kang disagrees, but believes that Crimson has managed to empathize with him. Crimson smiles again and confesses to Kang that she likes this, declaring that as an outsider, he must remain a lone wolf. Kang reflects on her strange logic, thinking that at first Crimson said she liked him for being an outsider, but now she wants to kill him to preserve that very status. Kang is getting angry. Crimson tells him this is a happy day because she has finally met someone who understands her great mission. Kang thinks he's stumbled into the worst situation imaginable. He's terrified. After that, he sees several people hanging by chains. Crimson observes them, then approaches one of the boys, telling him he should come with her, since he's looking to be in bad shape. The boy says something in a different language. She replies that her new friend needs to stay alive to entertain her so she won't be killing him. After that, she knocks the boy down. The boy falls into a magical formation made by Crimson as she begins her dark magic, calling upon her mother for life. She asks her mother to grant her the remaining life of this fairy. The magic circle begins to glow. The boy is visibly terrified during the ritual. Crimson assures him that if he just hands over his life, she will reunite him with his partner soon. She grabs him by the hair, warning that he has now witnessed the consequences of rejecting her mercy. Meanwhile, Kang reflects on what is happening to Crimson. He speculates that she will grow younger by absorbing the fairy's life force. After a brief pause, Crimson declares that her spell was a success. Kang points out that she doesn't look any younger. Crimson explains it's because she isn't human. She admits it. She sacrifices fairies to prolong her life and has lost count of how many fairies and travelers she's killed. Kang notes it's gotten to the point where she's under the fairy's curse. Crimson then takes off her clothes, revealing something shocking to Kang. Kang is intrigued by what she's doing, but is stunned to see that Crimson is a gnoll. Crimson openly identifies herself as a gnoll. Kang, filled with fear, wonders if Crimson could be of mixed blood. Crimson boasts about the remarkable combination of two races that both harbor a deep resentment towards fairies. She smiles, declaring that she will soon have her revenge. Using her human intelligence and her null physique, Crimson claims that her dark magic is supreme. Kang questions her, asking how she can seek revenge on fairies using the power of other fairies. Crimson approaches him and tells him not to worry about such trivial matters. She then proceeds to lecture Kang about outsiders and reveals her true identity. She grabs Kang, telling him to just forget about it and enjoy living life to the fullest. "Oh, I understand," Kang replies sarcastically, adding that Crimson has been so incredibly helpful. Kang then asks if she still wants to kill him. Crimson replies coldly that it is because Kang is an outsider. Kang feels a surge of anger, realizing that today he has met a truly dangerous kind of outsider. He believes this moment is their predestined turning point. Meanwhile, at the temple, Princess Atena Archon, the renowned genius magician of the Archon Kingdom, admires the workers. Despite her royal status, she hardly needs to exert herself thanks to her immense talent. Meanwhile, Yubora asks if magic is created through their imagination, suggesting they could boost efficiency if other methods don't exist. Even though she's heard that a wizard's skills are determined by lineage and connections, Yubora's dedication to hard work catches Princess Atena's attention. As a result, she decides to make Yubora her first apprentice. Princess Atena praises her question and explains that to improve one's magic, you must follow the magic of your teachers or parents. She then demonstrates a bit of magic with mice, surprising the heroes. Princess Atena believes that, thanks to the talent inherited from her, ancestors members of the royal Archon family can use exceptional fire magic generation after generation. Then she shows them an ice rabbit her own unique magic and asks if anyone wants to give it a try. Everyone enthusiastically accepts and Yubora takes a step forward. However, the magic doesn't quite work for her, and Princess Atena explains that it's because Yubora is still getting used to it. She reassures her, saying that with more experience, Yubora will be able to perform the magic easily. Yubora thanks her for the explanation. Suddenly, a student named Jae Myeon speaks up, asking Princess Atena if anyone will want him since he hasn't received a blessing. The other students start shouting that they need a blessing too, complaining that Princess Atena is being unfair. Princess Atena, after a moment's thought, asks, "Which hero wants to be my second apprentice?" All the heroes shout in unison that they want to be her second apprentice. The students, now anxious, begin to beg for her attention. However, with just a single phrase from the princess, their alliance collapses as the students start fighting among themselves. The princess then tells them she'll announce who her second apprentice will be later. Yubora asks if she did that intentionally, but Princess Atena seems confused by the question. Later, Princess Atena concludes the lesson by telling them that unique magic like her ice rabbit can only be obtained after countless trials, errors, and practice. Yubora then chimes in, comparing it to black magic. Princess Atena, surprised by the comparison, tries to explain that black magic is different from white magic. Yubora asks if it's impossible to practice black magic on your own continuously. With a worried expression, Princess Atena explains that black magic requires a sacrifice every time it's used. Meanwhile, a man named Kang is trapped in a magical formation created by a man named Crimson, wondering why he's been captured by this madman. Crimson, sensing Kang's hesitation, demands that he declare that he will give his life to him. Kang's consent is essential for the sacrifice, and, though he's physically restrained, he knows his life doesn't belong to Crimson. Crimson tells him their conversation is over. Model. Kang must now offer up his life. Fearful for his life, Kang thinks of a way out and asks to see Misa one last time before he dies. Crimson asks why he's looking for her, and Kang replies that she's his lover. Skeptical Crimson reminds him that Cole is Misa's lover. Kang honestly admits that Cole is her ex-boyfriend. Crimson demands proof that Kang is really her lover. Without hesitating, Kang suggests that Crimson smell him to confirm Misa's scent. After Crimson smells him, he recognizes Misa's unmistakable aroma, confirming that they must have been lovers. Crimson thinks that if Misa disappears, both Gary and Cole will become suspects again, and he begins to plot. Kang, internally relieved, is impressed by how incredibly cunning Crimson is. Then Crimson asks if Kang has any other wishes. Seizing the opportunity, Kang asks to be released, until he can reunite with Misa, promising to surrender himself afterward. Crimson accepts the deal, and the ghoul laughs menacingly. Suddenly, Kang senses a dark energy. It's overwhelming. His body writhes in pain, and he realizes that Crimson's words about not making him suffer were a lie. Crimson says his goodbyes, saying that he'll tell Misa that Kang has gone too far. Kang, remembering that Misa was the one who left first, replies that it will be difficult for Crimson to explain that to her. Crimson is surprised, and in that moment, Kang steps forward and punches him right in the face. Crimson seethes with fury, accusing Kang of deceiving him. Still defiant, Kang replies that he believes it was Crimson who deceived him by promising a painless death. Instead, The excruciating pain almost drove him mad, and he warns that such torment can turn a close ally into a sworn enemy. Crimson is stunned by Kang's resistance. With a sly smile, Kang promises to tell Crimson everything once he's dead, to lift the magical restriction. A god restarts Kang's life and the magical formation dissolves. Now enraged, Crimson growls in frustration. Unwavering, Kang reminds him of their deal. If he survived, they had to let him go free, and Kang hopes Crimson will honor that promise. With determination, he grabs a dagger and demands that Crimson fulfill his part of the deal. Kang cuts the chain from one of the captive girls, freeing her. The weakened girl is surprised, but Kang supports her and begins breaking the other restraints. Crimson stops him, reminding Kang of his previous warning. Kang, knowing that Crimson hadn't been able to kill him before, reasons that trying to kill someone who can just come back to life is a useless effort. In a fit of rage, Crimson declares that since Kang is throwing away the new lease on life, he was granted the promise is now void. Crimson releases his demonic energy and uses magic to grab Kang's legs. Unconcerned, Kang prepares himself. Crimson expresses his disappointment, telling Kang that he should give up any hope of a painless death. Kang, however, smiles coolly and replies that it's too soon to give up. Crimson mocks Kang's confidence, but then, without warning, blood gushes from Crimson's mouth. The boss's power begins to wane. Kang observes the change, noticing that ever since he struck Crimson with dark magic, the boss's powers have been weakening. Crimson is now desperate, demanding to know who Kang really is. With a defiant smile, Kang replies that he's a stranger's apostle. As Crimson approaches death, Kang feels a wave of anticipation. He sees this as his opportunity to earn experience points after defeating the level 16 boss. He plans to escape once and for all. He says goodbye to Crimson, but the Knoll, now manifesting in Crimson's body, curses Kang, swearing revenge for destroying its dream. Crimson makes a final attempt to charge toward Kang, trying to kill him by slashing his chest with sharp, fragile nails. Crimson mockingly claims that this power isn't swordsmanship, but a special skill he kept hidden for hunting fairies. Despite the injury, Kang declares that it's unfortunate, but not fatal. To the Knoll's surprise, Kang's wounds heal quickly. Unfazed, Kang explains that it was a close call. Crimson, now weakened and out of strength, tries to escape. However, a girl grabs his foot, stopping him. Crimson grunts at her to let him go, but before she can react, Kang appears and swiftly decapitates him. Although Kang knows this victory isn't the end, as there is still another authority to face. Having struck the final blow to the Knoll within Crimson, Kang watches as it dies, screaming in pain. Kang remains unwavering, while Dakin, an unseen observer, expresses sorrow for Crimson's fate. With Crimson's final act of tyranny now, crushed, Kang goes to the many fairies the chief had captured, calling the villagers for help. With the situation mostly resolved, Kang withdraws from the area. 1 month later, Kang finds himself wandering through the jungle again. Without warning, fairies attack him, forcing him to jump from a cliff to escape. Meanwhile, a fight breaks out among the children at the temple over a tutoring issue, but aspiring magicians arrive in droves to become their teachers. The situation resolves quickly since countless wizards pursue the honorable title of the Hero's Master. Princess Athena tells the heroes that they need to visualize magic in their minds, so concentration is crucial. The heroes practice their magic by creating a fireball. Suddenly, a student asks Princess Athena about the mathematics of magic. She replies that mathematics doesn't really apply to magic in that way. A moment later, the student asks the hero if she uses addition or subtraction when creating her fireball. She tells him she's only able to use magic because she has a master who is good at creating fire. He replies that he doesn't believe it's certain he could quickly become an archmage with his modern knowledge. Suddenly, the teachers arrive. A teacher tells Princess Athena that she described something incorrectly, to the heroes explaining that it's true that mathematics is applied to magic. The heroes are surprised. The teacher explains that since Princess Athena used a fireball as an example, he'll continue with a related explanation. He says that the princess, having only learned the theory, might not be aware, but they have started implementing mathematics to increase magic's efficiency. Meanwhile, another magic master arrives. He arrives and shows them a magic ball floating in the air. The other teacher warns them to avoid wasting mental energy, treating it as a precious resource in a real battle. He explains that when launching a fireball, the angle is critical. He says they also need to consider the wind's direction and speed. Suddenly, an explosion erupts in the air. The boy is happy because he got a reaction from his teachers. After that, the teacher tells them that practical combat magic will also be helpful for the princess. Princess Athena expresses her interest in learning it as well. After a while, the heroes join the other magicians. Meanwhile, exceptional wizards are teaching them practical magic. With guidance from such excellent teachers, the heroes learn magic quickly. Suddenly, a storm brews. Elsewhere, a few fairies are sitting in a room. One is injured, and another is applying medicine to her wound. The wounded fairy is their prisoner, Princess Ha's maid. Her companion apologizes, saying that the only thing they can do is alleviate her pain with medicine. On the other hand, a miracle from a saint could heal her completely. But there's no way either of the world's only two saints would offer a miracle to a simple maid, as such blessings are reserved for special people, like royalty. Her partner, she prepares to leave, telling the maid that they will capture the human responsible, so she should rest easy. The maid thinks this must be the Crimson Boss's doing. But the villagers who just stood by idly, they could be accomplices. She cries, thinking that when she returns to the kingdom, she must report this town first. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door. Another fairy is standing outside. Surprised, she tells her to come in. She enters and informs her that the mercenaries they hired lost their target. Espress gets a little angry, saying they don't have to worry about the human problem. The other fairy replies that the man saved her from the evil boss. They're talking about Kang Hanu. Espress becomes furious, revealing he has the princess's dagger and accusing the girl of deceiving them. She insists that humans are beasts and can't be trusted. The girl replies to Espress in a hoarse voice that it's still true that he saved her. Espress retorts that's why she kept quiet, adding it wasn't as if they were told to kill him. They are simply beasts tearing each other apart after all. Suddenly, Counselor Celib arrives and asks the prisoner about what was said. The other fairy approaches to support Celib, who seems to be unwell. Celib is a true fairy whose name means sacred sun in an ancient language. Despite her royal blood, she possesses infinite life. She was a toy that the Crimson Boss especially valued. She was also the one who was imprisoned in the basement for the longest time. Celib begins to cry, telling them that Kang could have escaped on his own, but he freed her instead. Espress tells her that she knows he is after her eternal life. Celib asks if she knows that her savior used a dark magic pact. Meanwhile, Kang Hanu makes use of the broken agreement. Whoever violates a pact must return what they took. The boss ends up self-destructing after underestimating the value of Kang's life. Espress tells Celib that she remembers when she used to run carefree through the palace, but now that's just a distant memory. Don't cry, my love. Celib tells him it's because of something that must be found. He says it's dangerous since the situation has gotten worse. Afterwards, Celib departs. Meanwhile, God listens and observes them before quietly slipping away. A little while later, God finds Kang in the jungle and approaches him. He's a little stressed out from having fallen off a cliff. Meanwhile, back at the temple, Prince Alcest is with the heroes who wish to become swordsmen. The students are surprised to see them, casually taking a tea break. Suddenly, he leads all the students to the banquet hall. After a while, everyone is seated at the dining room table. Prince Alcest proposes a toast to the heroes who have chosen the path of the swordsman. The knights shout and cheer in response. The heroes are a little intimidated by their zealous enthusiasm. After that, Prince Alcest tells the students he will give them a simple demonstration to improve their understanding. He asks the commander to accompany him. The commander agrees, and they begin preparations. Prince Alcest tells them that they will first demonstrate the style of swordsmanship that everyone is familiar with. He tells the commander to limit his swordsmanship abilities for the demonstration. After that, they begin their duel. Prince Alcest attacks the commander, forcing him to back away. Prince Alcest attacks swiftly, and the heroes are impressed by his speed. Prince Alcest thanks the commander for his sword dance. After that, Prince Alcest announces that now they will demonstrate the true swordsmanship they are all here to learn. A powerful energy begins to glow from Prince Alcest's sword. The commander's sword also begins to glow with energy. Both prepare for a second duel. Their second duel begins, and the light from their energy is intense as their swords clash in a single blow. The commander's sword shatters and he is defeated. Prince Alcest praises the commander for his skill. Meanwhile, the heroes are buzzing with curiosity about what just happened. Prince Alcest explains that the power to defeat an opponent in a single blow is true swordsmanship. He tells them to forget about the Demon King for now, because with their current skills, they couldn't even defeat an armored knight, let alone the entire cavalry using their shallow, courtly techniques. One of the heroes observes that it seems true swordsmanship is all about efficiency. Prince Alcest confirms his understanding and says they will now begin their training in swordsmanship. He tells them to take a sip of the tea in front of them. Everyone does, only to discover it tastes absolutely terrible. Prince Alcest tells them that a warrior's blessing is required to learn this swordsmanship. He explains that the tea is actually a medicine, a practical method for obtaining the blessing in a quick and safe manner. He adds that they'll need to get used to the taste. Reluctantly, they all drink their tea. Choi Kang-min, however, drinks it all and asks for another cup of the medicine. Prince Alcest advises him to eat some snacks first, and then asks the commander to pour another cup of tea for Choi Kang-min. Meanwhile, back in the jungle, God and Kang are sitting together in a tree. Kang thinks to himself that he wasn't able to do enough to reduce the impact of the fall this time. He feels relieved that luckily there was a dense forest below the cliff to break his fall. He figures the mercenaries who were chasing him so persistently have probably left the village by now. He thinks he would have been completely defenseless if the guard he bribed hadn't opened the village gate for him. Suddenly some gnolls arrive and spot Kang in a tree. Kang watches them as they greet him cordially. He finds it ironic that he trusts the gnolls more than he does humans or fairies. He then jumps to the ground and kills the gnolls with a single blow. Kang remarks that it was easy since there were only 3 of them. He tells the goddess that her body seems to have become more elegant than before and is curious about it. He checks his status window. He sees that nothing has changed, but then he suddenly notices that the dividend is now 3.43. He asks the goddess what it means. She smiles at him and advises that the higher it is, the better. Kang gives her a strange look, thinking that for the first time he might be hearing something valuable from the goddess. Meanwhile, one of the gnolls is still alive. Kang approaches it and says he wants to ask something. He tells it that he's quite angry with the fairies. The gnoll is happy to hear this because it wants to eat them. Kang thinks the solution he's found is the gnoll's swordsmanship. He believes he's too weak to take revenge on the goddess. Even if he reaches level 2, he decides the best thing to do is imitate the swordsmanship style that only the gnolls can use. As his master said, at least it will make him stronger than he is now. After that, he asks the gnoll about its red eyes and the power of meat. Kang wants to see this power for himself. He believes that gnoll swordsmanship is the power of meat, but the information he has isn't enough. He says that he must investigate the gnoll's ecosystem to ensure his revenge goes smoothly. Elsewhere in the dining hall, Prince Alcest tells the heroes that while talent is needed for magic, anyone can learn swordsmanship if they have time and money. Meanwhile, the heroes need to catch up with this lesson. Suddenly, Choi Kang-min asks for another cup of the potion. Prince Alcest tells him to stop for the day, as its efficiency can be reduced if he drinks too much. Choi thinks that he needs to get as strong as possible, as quickly as possible, because he's different from the others. Prince Alcest approaches him and advises him that it's best to cleanse his palate with a little honey tea. He tells him that consistency is essential and that drinking 1 cup a day or even 2 is fine. If he gets greedy, it could be counterproductive. Choi smiles and replies that 2 cups a day will suit him just fine. After that, Prince Alcest explains that the warrior's blessing will not settle in quickly, just as a baby can't become an adult overnight. Choi seems surprised to hear this, but then he suddenly receives a blessing called courage. It means he becomes stronger and more powerful the longer he fights, but the effect resets if he's defeated or if his will to fight is broken. Choi is surprised but happy. Prince Alcest congratulates him and tells him that he now has high expectations for him since he received the blessing of the god of battle. Choi replies that he feels flattered. After that, Prince Alcest says he'll show them how to hide their status windows. Meanwhile, a gnoll named Fang is eating its prey in the jungle. Kang is observing. A couple of days have passed since he started following the gnolls to observe the power of meat. Suddenly, Fang notices him and lunges forward to attack. Kang survives and realizes that the gnoll is trying to hunt him down whenever it gets the chance. After defeating Fang, Kang observes that he still feels too weak. Kang checks Fang's status window and discovers his name is Fang and that he's at level 6. Kang asks if he's really a top-tier level 6 player. Fang responds by proudly flexing his biceps and saying fairy meat and maui as an explanation. Kang realizes that Fang is referring to eating fairy meat, which supposedly grants power. He asks Fang why he's still weak, despite having hunted 2 fairies. Fang gets sad and insists that he is strong, so Kang hits him again. Over time, Kang begins to learn about the characteristics of the gnolls. Fang points him in the direction of the fairy village where Kang was previously ambushed. Kang starts to realize the boss's claims weren't delusional, but actually true. While traveling, Kang catches a rabbit and eats it. He notices that the gnoll's body is also beginning to change. Fang's strength starts to increase every time he eats. Kang thinks this method is simpler than the boss's black magic that stole life force, although it's less effective. After eating the rabbit, Kang asks Fang if he's satisfied now. Fang starts to snarl. He says he wants more meat as his eyes turn red. He charges again and Kang punches him with all his might. His strength grows and he realizes that Fang's behavior reveals the true power of the meat. With this new understanding, Kang attacks Fang, again cutting his body in 2 with his full strength. Kang feels confident and thanks Fang for helping him learn. As Kang approaches Fang's remains, Fang murmurs that Kang is also a gnoll. Kang denies it, believing he's human, but then notices his hands are releasing red energy and his body feels different. Kang realizes that the chemical reaction is driven by the Gnoll's intense emotions and greed for meat. God, who is observing, is surprised and tells Kang this is the power of the flesh. Kang replies that he doubts just anyone could use it. He asks God if he would have died from using power derived from a depleted life force if he hadn't had the stranger's blessing. God explains that the blessing is restored after each meal, creating an infinite cycle of replenishment. Later that night, Kang and God are wandering through the jungle. Some gnolls smell meat nearby, but before anything can happen, Kang appears and defeats them effortlessly with a single blow. God is surprised by Kang's strength. Kang runs forward thinking that even though he has gotten stronger, he feels unhappy. God guides him in the direction they need to go. When Kang arrives at the fairy village, he declares he will punish those fantasy barbarians with the power of fantasy. Guards are stationed outside the village. Kang thinks about sneaking in through a rear tunnel, but security is tighter than expected. However, he feels satisfied because he memorized the village map beforehand. Meanwhile, God urges him to act now. Kang is curious why God is suddenly trying to be helpful, but his own instincts are telling him the same thing. He runs towards the village wall and scales it using his dagger. Once inside the village, he's relieved that no one is watching. He carefully plans his next move. After a short wait, a guard finally appears. Kang sneaks up from behind, grabbing him and holding a knife to his throat. He swiftly kills the guard and drags the body aside. Kang reflects that while these people probably have families who will mourn them, he has a family to protect too. He laments that he almost died without seeing his parents again. He blames them for his predicament. With renewed determination, he vows not to let them push him around anymore. Meanwhile, the deity watching over him smirks as if egging him on. One by one, Kang takes out several more guards, piling their bodies in one spot. He mutters to himself that while the infiltration has been fun, he's only run into mercenaries so far. He wonders how he's supposed to find the fairies. He reasons that fairies, just like humans, need to use the bathroom, so he's puzzled as to why he hasn't spotted any yet. The deity mocks Kang for his slow realization. Just then, Kang hears voices. It sounds like some humans have captured the fairies. Kang finds this development quite exciting. Meanwhile, Esopreso has been captured by some men and is being dragged into a basement. Esopreso's mind is racing with a million thoughts. Suddenly, he hears a woman's voice explaining that while Crimson might have thought they were ignorant of their actions, they chose to look the other way to protect their new way of life. Esopreso recognizes the voice as belonging to the healer from earlier. The healer tells the other fairies that this is what they get for letting their dear friend fight this battle alone. Elsewhere, a young man tells his partner that he overheard in the cafeteria that fairies despise humans. A bald man chimes in saying something has happened in town. A blue-haired woman instructs her men to begin. The men advance with daggers drawn, intending to kill the fairies in the name of Crimson. The bald man kills Esopreso. One after another, they execute more fairies until only Celibles is left. She is bound tightly with ropes. Celibles tells them that killing her will accomplish their goal, but she warns that murdering their savior just to keep a secret will weigh heavily on their conscience. The young man suggests they let Celibles go if she agrees to keep their secret. Celibles responds angrily, saying she can't believe they think an agreement made under duress would ever hold. The blue-haired woman replies that they would let Celibles go even if they suspected she was lying. Celibles smiles and takes the opportunity to mock them, saying they should know that fairies don't lie, not even to save their own lives. Her captors, frustrated, decide they have no other choice. They prepare to kill her, promising to make it as painless as possible. Suddenly, Kang appears, swiftly killing the man about to execute Celibles and saving her. Celibles is stunned to see him there. Kang acknowledges Celibles, noting they've met again, but says he first needs to deal with the remaining enemies. He then rushes toward the attackers, cutting them down. He thinks that whether they're misguided villagers or not, if they're on the village chief's side, he planned to eliminate them all from the start. Terrified woman begs Kang to spare her life. Kang understands her pleas, but believes it would be a mistake to leave any survivors. He kills her as well. Meanwhile, the blue-haired woman is trying to escape, but Kang spots her. He instantly throws his dagger, striking and killing her. Kang reflects that it was a good call to take out that big guy first. Just as Celibles starts to say something, Kang cuts her off. He curiously checks her status window and is stunned to see she's level 12. He had never seen one before. He had never seen someone else's status window before, and wonders if she showed it to him on purpose. Kang sees that Celibles has 3 blessings, all of which are high rank. One of her blessings is Tamer, which slightly improves the skills of any animal she has domesticated. Kang thinks that even though it's a high-rank blessing, it would be useless without any animals. He suspects there must be a specific reason she deliberately showed him her status window. Kang calls out her name, Celib. She smiles at him when she hears this, which Kang assumes is an effect of his stranger's blessing. Meanwhile, God is getting angry with Kang. Kang sits down and comments that he knows he'll stop being a stranger if he gets punished. Celib seems surprised by his words. Kang thinks that she might be a hadlucky. Although he initially planned to kill all the fairies, he hesitates because she seems to have had an experience similar to his own. Kang decides that in order to survive, he will need to interact with the native people of this world. After freeing Celib, he tells her to take care of the rest by herself. Kang reflects that if he kills all the fairies here, he won't be any different from them. Suddenly, Celib runs toward him, grabs him, and tells him to stop making things so complicated. Celib says her name, and Kang is surprised to hear it. A little while later, they walk through the town's streets. Kang comments that, despite so many people having died, the town is eerily calm. He asks God if he knows the reason. God answers with disdain as if he's not in the mood. Kang considers getting rid of Celib to calm God's anger, but he realizes that he can't trust anyone in the village and the forest is full of gnolls. He decides it's best to leave immediately. Kang grabs Celib and begins to run. While running, Celib tries to tell him something. She raises her hand, and Kang sees a phoenix approaching. He's surprised by this, and Celib smiles at him. After a moment, the phoenix lands on the ground. Celib greets the phoenix and asks Kang to let her down. Kang lets her go, and she approaches the phoenix, speaking to it as if they understood each other. Kang is amazed and realizes that this is due to her tamer blessing. Afterwards, Celib returns to Kang and kisses him. God is enraged at the sight. A clearly confused Kang asks her what she's doing. While he stands there confused, the phoenix begins to circle around them. Suddenly, Kang sees Celib sitting on the phoenix. She says something to him and then leaves. On the other side, God is practically pulling his hair out in a rage. Kang tells God that he's also annoyed and can't believe Celib would repay his generosity with such ill conduct. Suddenly, a status window appears before Kang and he's surprised by its contents. It reveals that Kang has received a Fairies blessing. He's delighted. He's thrilled to discover that it's a high-rank blessing. At the same time, God looks uncomfortable and annoyed. He tells Kang that all sorts of unexpected things can happen in life. God explains that the blessing designates Kang as a friend of the fairies, which increases both his life expectancy and his youth. Kang reflects that this new blessing is similar to his stranger's blessing. He realizes that if he uses the stranger's blessing and the fairy's blessing together, the amount of life force he can burn for power will increase significantly. A certain god says he seems unusually happy. Kang replies that he's satisfied because he has gotten away from her. The god feels more relaxed now. Later in the middle of the jungle, Kang and a foreign god decide they should venture out a bit further this time. Meanwhile, Prince Alsus and Princess Athena are gathered with the fantasy heroes. Prince Alsus addresses them. He tells the heroes that 3 days have already passed since their arrival. He explains that after meditating, they will start raising their levels by hunting. He assures them not to be afraid since the nighttime hordes will attract monsters for their first hunt. Princess Athena encourages the heroes, telling them that blessings are an absolute necessity, especially for the mages. She explains that as the range of their blessings and their levels increase, their overall combat power will also increase. The heroes, encouraged by her words, are excited and ready to hunt. Suddenly, a hero spots a slime. The group prepares to attack it, but Princess Athena and Prince Alsus stop them. They explain that slimes are beneficial creatures that don't harm humans, so they should be left unharmed. The heroes are surprised by this information. Princess Athena explains that slimes consume all kinds of dirt, garbage, pests, and even corpses. She tells them that slimes reduce the risk of infectious diseases in the area. Holding the slime in her hand, she emphasizes that attacking them is forbidden, even for heroes, as it would be considered barbaric. The heroes apologize for the misunderstanding. Afterwards, Prince Alsus tells the heroes that gnolls with an average level of 2 would be the most appropriate targets for their first hunt. However, their main objective for the day is a mid-level gnoll at level 4. The group is surprised to hear this. Princess Athena reassures them, saying they don't need to worry, because they have a saint who can revive them if they die. Suddenly, Prince Alsus adds that with their current numbers, they could even handle orcs with an average level of 6. He chimes in to support Princess Athena, backing up her words. The hunt begins a short while later. The students encounter the gnolls and are surprised by their appearance. Choi Kang-min is excited because he finally has something to fight. He attacks a gnoll, but he fails, and the gnoll scratches his eye, leaving him in pain. The gnolls begin to defeat the heroes one by one. The mages try to fight back with magic, but their spells have no effect. After the battle with the gnolls, every hero is wounded. The saint approaches Prince Alcus and thanks him for his efforts in guiding the heroes. She sits down near one of the wounded heroes and comments, "Take it easy. There must be a reason why God chose you people as heroes and sent you to this land." She then uses her powers to heal the wounded heroes. With a serene expression, she says that every time they die, they will be revived. After some time, the heroes are revived and continue the hunt. Choi Kang-min is with his group facing off against a gnoll. Choi charges at the gnoll using his blessing of courage, and this time he succeeds. He defeats the gnoll. A certain god congratulates Choi for being so clever, and Choi is thrilled to have reached level 2. He also gains 2 new blessings, command and acceleration. The acceleration skill allows you to move incredibly fast in critical moments. The command skill grants any group he leads a slight increase in their abilities. Choi observes his colleagues celebrating. Suddenly he notices a gnoll attacking Yang, but her group quickly kills it. Yang encourages her team and announces that she has now reached level 2. Meanwhile, the other girls look at her with envy. Jaemon thinks to herself that beauty is a weapon too. She received a blessing called the Color of Beauty, which frees her from unseemly things like bodily functions and physical upkeep. Yang is ecstatic and thanks her group for their support. Choi thinks Yang made an intelligent move, then approaches the other girls and offers to help them. Meanwhile, all the gods are closely observing the heroes' activities. Elsewhere, Eubora is fighting a gnoll all by herself. She faces some difficulty but holds her own, confidently stating that she can handle it. She uses her magic power to create a fireball and successfully defeats the gnoll. Yora checks her status window and sees that she has also reached level 2. She received a blessing called Weapon, which means her body can function as a powerful weapon in any situation. Some of the gods applaud her and she thanks them. She notes that her wooden sword feels unusually sturdy because of the blessing. While she's examining her status window, another gnoll suddenly attacks her. Thanks to her blessing, her weapons are powerful and can be restored. She defeats the gnoll by hitting it with her sword and then using her magic power to deliver a fatal blow, slitting its throat. Shortly after, she receives a notification that she has reached level 3. Eubora feels incredibly happy knowing she succeeded all on her own. In contrast, Choi Kang is irritated since some of the men in his group are busy fighting gnolls just to impress Yang. Elsewhere, Prince Alcus and Princess Athena are observing the hero's progress. By midday, Cain has killed countless gnolls. The god asks him if he knows how many he's defeated. Kang replies that even without looking, he knows he's killed at least a few thousand. Kang checks his status window and feels frustrated. Despite checking his status repeatedly while fighting, he notes that a curse has been added, but he hasn't leveled up at all. The god also feels uneasy. Kang replies that it's fine. He knew his growth would be challenging due to the evil goddess's curse, but he didn't expect it to be slowed down this much. He's angry, saying his level isn't rising at all. He notices the god looking at the stars and wonders why he's suddenly so interested in them. On another note, he wants to know about the Curse of Slaughter and what it does to friendly races. They will fear him a little and find him frightening. Kang says he's being forced to be an observer. Meanwhile, the god is trying to encourage him. Suddenly, he notices a corpse wearing a beautiful bracelet and takes it. Kang begins stealing their treasures, certain they must belong to humans or fairies. He thinks that since he can't level up, money is the only way for him to become stronger. Suddenly, a large number of gnolls come rushing toward him. Kang spots them and sees there are still some gnolls left. He checks the status window of a gnoll named Hook, who is at level 6 with the title Makes the Fairies Cry. Kang realizes they've come up with a plan. Because they must have believed their numerical advantage wasn't enough, and it seems they've been eating a lot of meat. Kang gets ready for the fight. They all charge him at the same time. Kang leaps in to defeat them, unleashing a powerful energy from the meat he's eaten. He says he's happy that so many good teachers came looking for him personally. Meanwhile, the gnolls are shocked to see his incredible jump. He kills one of them and thanks it because with their help, he's learning to use his powers more naturally. He says that it will always feel incredibly insufficient no matter how much you prepare. After a short while, he defeats all of them. Now he has a lot of gold, but he thinks he might have a language problem. What good is it with the merchants? The loot is no better than a pile of rocks if he can't sell it for a fair price. Kang believes he needs a translator. He also figures he can't trust any of them because they are probably prone to lying. Suddenly, a man with devil horns appears. He asks, "Who took care of all these gnolls?" Kang is surprised to see him as the man approaches. Kang suddenly grabs him smiling and says that he's finally found someone who understands the local language. He asks for the man's name, but he says he doesn't have one. Kang brushes it off, thinking they can still become friends. The man replies that he is a demon, not a gnoll. Kang is shocked to hear this. He believed that demons were all incredibly powerful humanoids. As the goddess explained, the hero's main objective was to defeat the great demon king. He also figures that if even the gods had to summon help from other worlds, the demons must be immensely powerful. Suddenly, the demon shouts at him and says that it's ridiculous to touch a nerve during their first meeting while also claiming to be friends. He also tells him that the belief that all demons are strong is just a prejudice. Kang apologizes, and the demon admits that he himself is actually too weak. The demon begins to cry. After that, he tells Kang that he's the one who is abnormally strong. He asks who Kang is to be so strong at only level 1. Kang replies that it's all thanks to his blessings. The demon doesn't believe him and says he's not stupid since he can see far more curses than blessings on him. The demon tells him that he has a blessing of observation in one of his eyes. He also tells him that he possesses another gift besides observation, which allows him to look at the status windows of others. Meanwhile, the goddess is watching everything. The demon tells Kang that he is a dark magician and that you can't learn dark magic if you're an idiot. He explains that he is currently on a training journey away from home because of an arranged marriage, so Kang shouldn't treat him like some insignificant human. He tells him that his fiancée was of a suitable age to marry long before he was even born. On the other side, the goddess is pressuring Kang to ask more about the demon's personal history. After hearing this, Kang gets the full picture. He grabs the demon by the neck, much to the demon's surprise and anger. The demon explains that the stronger a demon is, the more partners they are allowed to have. He tells Kang that he ran away because he didn't want to become husband number 243 to some ancient demon. Kang looks at him with pity. The demon asks him, "How are you able to move?" Kang understands. The devil tells him that he used a significant amount of the paralysis potion, enough to paralyze even an Ada with strong natural resistance. So how is he immune to it when he's only a level 1 human? Kang sees the bottle of poison. Kang remembers the boss Crimson, who had poisoned him before. He tells the devil he's bringing up a really irritating memory. The devil tries to bind Kang with magic, but Kang escapes. Kang asks him what his relationship is with the boss. The devil says that's a silly question since he has no idea how many leaders he's met. Kang describes the leader with a gnoll head on his chest. The devil remembers and says he did meet that boss. He tells Kang that the boss is a human on the verge of death, and that his story is a tale that would make anyone cry. He also tells Kang that he saved the chief from Sahada's curse. Kang replies that he must be the magician who helped that rotten boss. Meanwhile, back in the jungle, the Saintess tells the students that the other heroes have given up on training and returned to the temple. The funds will now be invested in the remaining heroes. The heroes are happy to hear this news. Prince Alsus tells them that averaging 3 levels in a single day is an unprecedented speed. He adds that they are all truly unique, as expected from the hope of humanity. Suddenly, a knight arrives and informs Prince Alsus and the Saintess that they've discovered a gnoll in the middle of a binge. The Saintess asks about the gnoll's level. The knight replies that it's level 5. She tells Alsus that since the 3 heroes are at level 3, this is a rare opportunity and good experience for them to fight the gnoll. A little while later, the heroes are with Prince Alsus to hunt the level 5 gnoll. They arrive at their destination and Prince Alsus tells them to be quiet. He whispers that although it may seem foolish, this gnoll is a special unit. It's so combative that it would even attack someone much stronger, so they must be careful. Princess Tena adds that a fully grown gnoll can even use dark magic, so they should be careful when its eyes glow red. Suddenly, the gnoll discovers them. Prince Alsus tells the heroes to stay back. The heroes look a little scared. Choi reassures everyone, saying there's no need to be afraid. Using his blessing command, he tells his colleagues that since this gnoll is larger, it should be slower than the ones they've faced before. While he's speaking, the gnoll appears behind him, ready to attack. Suddenly, there's an explosion and the gnoll begins to attack them one by one, proving to be more powerful than expected. Chubora uses his magic and sword to strike the gnoll, but his attack fails. The gnoll throws him far away. Yang, frightened and scared, sees the gnoll approaching her. She prays for help, and her blessing amulet activates on the gnoll, preventing it from attacking her. The gnoll smiles at her. Suddenly, Prince Alsus arrives and kills the gnoll. Yang Mian looks a little shaken. At the same time, Prince Alsus hears the sound of the heroes fighting fiercely against a strong opponent. He suspects they might have God's blessing on their side. The devil's panting and tells Kang he's getting all twisted up. Kang tells him he's asking for a favor he can't grant, so he should just die. The devil uses his power, and Kang is annoyed since the feeling is similar to that stranger's. Kang thanks him for the help, but scolds him for nearly dying a pointless death. Kang asks if he wants them to rough him up some more, or if he needs help. The devil replies that's a bit much to ask, but he mentions a terrifying saint in the town closest to them. Kang gives that a hard pass. No one's going to die before they get married. The devil seems excited and tells Kang they can go to the second largest city nearby, offering to guide him there. Kang accepts, thinking he'd rather not go to the town where the goddess's minions are. As they travel, the devil mentions that the knights have been restricting entry to the forest for the last 2 days, so they'll need to take a longer route. He adds that they would check his identity, which is obviously dangerous for a demon like him. Kang figures that if that's the case, then it can't be helped. He thinks he'll also face difficulties because of the language barrier and gets annoyed with the goddess. Meanwhile, the goddess laughs at him. Elsewhere, Hangwoo is walking through the jungle with some women from the Mercenary Guild. One of the women mocks him, saying that he might be the most useless villager she has ever met. She sarcastically asks if he learned about the world from a picture book, since he doesn't even know what a latrine is. Hangwoo thinks to himself that bathrooms are never mentioned in novels or comics, but he keeps his mouth shut because for the past 2 days, she's paid for the inn, the armor, and even his weapon. Suddenly, she notices that he's staring at her intently and calls him out on it. Hanwoo nervously explains that it's just a misunderstanding and says he likes walking behind people. He smiles, thinking that a beautiful woman like her, helping and caring for a stranger, must be because of the unique effect of his blessing. However, she's not impressed and calls him an idiot, remembering how he attacked a slime earlier. She warns him that beyond this point is orc territory and suggests he should start with simple tasks back in town. She emphasizes that orcs are much more dangerous than gnolls and warns him not to wander off. Hangwoo assures her that he understands. Meanwhile, the number of gods observing the events increases. Hangwoo gets conceited, thinking that while others grow slowly like ornamental plants in a greenhouse, he'll be out in the field monopolizing all the gods' blessings. The woman finds him creepy when she sees him smiling to himself. She then explains that the Gnoll territory is a tough place for a slime rank mercenary, which is the lowest rank there is. Suddenly, Hangwoo notices he's received a new blessing that provides additional experience. Although he acknowledges that the blessing comes with risks, he dismisses them with confidence, believing that they're no problem for a main character like him. After a while, they arrive at their destination. Hanwoo asks if she's sure this is where the quest was, since there are no gnolls in sight. She admits he's right and wonders if something happened in the forest. Hangwoo jokes that extraordinary things always seem to happen wherever he goes. She doesn't get his point and just calls the situation a problem. While examining the map, she mentions that she thought they could handle it. The request was to quickly retrieve the right ear from a 5-eared gnoll. Hangwoo suggests they venture deeper into the forest, but she warns him that it won't be easy. She suggests they return to the Union for more information, but Hangwoo confidently tells her to trust him, at least for the moment. She skeptically asks why he's so sure. Suddenly, a gnoll appears and attacks. Hangwoo manages to dodge, but is left shocked by the encounter. The girl runs toward the gnoll, shouting at Hangwoo. She leaps and attacks the gnoll with her sword, but the gnoll's steel armor proves to be too strong. She realizes it might be a named monster. After asking Hangwoo if he's okay, she prepares for another fight. The gnoll stands before them, and she tells Hangwoo to draw his sword, explaining that named monsters are incredibly powerful. Hangwoo, seeing the gnoll up close for the first time, admits it's much scarier than he had imagined. Before they can act, 2 more gnolls appear. She tells Hangwoo to listen carefully, explaining she'll draw their attention so he can escape. Hangwoo jokingly refuses, saying he can't just leave his precious axe behind. She insists that there is no time for jokes. Suddenly, one of the gnolls hurls a stone at Hangwoo, hitting him hard. Blood trickles from his mouth and he faints. When Hangwoo regains consciousness, he asks about the gnolls. She replies that she has already taken care of all of them while wrapping a cloth around a wound on her hand. Hangwoo is surprised and asks if her injury is his fault. She tells him it was her own mistake and that he shouldn't blame himself. However, Hangwoo feels a mix of guilt and anger. He is deeply worried about her condition. Worried about the girl's injury, Hangwoo starts searching through his status window for a way to heal her. She tries to calm him down, reassuring him that it was her error and he shouldn't feel responsible. Meanwhile, he receives a notification from a certain god who is laughing at him, mockingly asking how he feels now. A frustrated Hangwoo shouts at the god, telling him not to laugh because the situation isn't funny. Suddenly, he receives a curse from the god for his insolence. The curse prevents him from being able to see through things even without physical barriers. At first, Hangwoo is confused, but when he tries to see through his status window and fails, he understands the meaning of the curse, leaving him deeply frustrated and saddened. The girl notices him murmuring to himself and asks if he's all right. Hangwoo looks at her, but he realizes he can no longer see through things like he could before, which solidifies the curse's effect in his mind. She then mentions that the forest feels ominous and suggests returning to the city before more gnolls attack, which could put them in grave danger. This time, Hangu agrees, thinking of the saint in the city who could heal her arm. He promises her that he will take full responsibility and get her arm healed because he is the hero of legends. Meanwhile, in another part of the jungle, we see Kanina with a devil who finally introduces himself as Kogmos. Kogmos explains that he is the 23rd son of the Demon King's 348th wife. He also shares that while humans place great value on royalty in demonic society, anyone with power can rule, making noble and royal status far less significant. Kang smiles and mocks Kogmos, calling him a demon and a nobody with nothing, which makes Kogmos start to cry. Feeling bad, Kang comforts him and asks about his nickname. Kogmos reveals that his nickname Moss was given to him by an old friend who later became the 425th wife of the 7th Demon King. He regrets not being able to congratulate her after she had her first child. Kang feels sorry for Kogmos, who seems obsessed with marriage, but doesn't believe Kogmos' problems are as bad as his own, having been kidnapped and thrown into a fantasy world. Meanwhile, a god who is watching over Kang urges him to leave the forest, calling it boring. Kang notices this god behaves differently around demons compared to fairies or humans. As they continue, Kogmos spots some footprints and announces that they are close to the edge of the forest. He warns Kang not to lower his guard because the Night Kingdom is just beyond the forest, a land ruled by swordmasters that also borders the territory of the Orcs. Kang seems excited, wondering if there are any strong warriors among the Orcs. Kogmos warns him that the Orcs are on a completely different level than the gnolls they faced previously. On a cliff overlooking Orc territory, Kogmos points to the Orcs below. Kang takes a look and notices that they look like common Orcs. However, one of the Orcs suddenly sniffs the air and detects a human nearby. The Orc announces to his comrades that a human male is near. Kogmos blames Kang, saying his bright red eyes are attracting attention. Unfazed, Kang explains that he can hide them, but he simply forgot. Kogmos scolds him, adding that Kang's scent is terrible, which makes him a target for the Orcs. Kang decides to approach them and jumps off the cliff, landing right in front of the Orcs. He greets them casually, but the Orcs demand that he hand over everything he owns, even calling him a pig. Kang corrects them, saying that he is a human, but notes to himself that while these Orcs are more eloquent than the gnolls, they're still not smart enough for a meaningful conversation. Kang realizes he has no choice but to deal with them. Kogmos had warned him that Orcs are stronger than gnolls and are skilled at teamwork, efficiently surrounding their prey. Kang, however, provokes them, asking why they don't hand over everything they have instead. Before the Orcs can respond, Kang quickly plunges a dagger into an Orc's head. The remaining Orcs are shocked, their expressions a mix of anger and disbelief. At that moment, Kang confidently thinks about how he can handle this fight thanks to the stranger's blessing. He smiles arrogantly and declares that he'll be the one to decide who the real pigs are. Kang proceeds to systematically eliminate the Orcs, leaving only 2 standing. They prepare for a fight, but Kang mockingly tells Kogmos that he thought the Orcs were supposed to be stronger than the gnolls. Kogmos responds defensively that they are, but Kang is just built different. With a few decisive moves, Kang dispatches the remaining Orcs. Then Kang arrogantly comments that they were easier than he was expecting. Turning towards Kogmos, he adds that if he's going to tag along, he should at least try to help. However, Kang, something seems to be wrong with Kogmos. Before Kang can ask, Kogmos tremblingly points to the sky where a giant dragon is flying. To Kang's surprise, Kogmos reveals that a saint is riding the dragon. Kogmos urges him to hurry, which irritates Kang. Reluctantly, Kang lifts Kogmos onto his back and starts walking, murmuring that he's never even given his parents a piggyback ride and now he's carrying a demon on his back. Meanwhile, Kogmos mocks Kang, suggesting that he should feed him. When Kogmos suggests they hunt Orcs, Kang sarcastically agrees. He adds that if anyone discovers a human helped a demon, his own marriage prospects will plummet to 0. Kang threatens to spread the rumor everywhere himself. Once they escape the forest, annoyed, Kogmos asks if Kang is just an ordinary human. Kang confidently responds that he isn't, and that he will become a hero. Kogmos is surprised and comments that the curse of a hero is usually only given to demons, who lose to heroes and flee. This curse, known as the hero's nemesis, makes it nearly impossible to level up, effectively reducing a demon to a living corpse. Kang, surprised by this revelation, questions if it's really possible to gain power in this world with such a limitation. Kogmos wonders aloud why Kang, a simple human, possesses such immense power despite his high-ranking student status. He speculates that the stranger's blessing might have additional effects they don't yet understand. While they argue, we get a look at Kang's status window, and discover the true nature of the foreigner title. Cogmos explains to Kang that the blessing resets all of his progress. That's why Kang doesn't need to eat, sleep, or even heal from his wounds. They simply disappear as if they never existed. Cogmos declares it a blessing similar to a cheat, but Kang bitterly disagrees, calling it a curse. No matter how much experience Kang gains, his status always resets, preventing him from getting any stronger. Cogmos asks how Kang plans to become powerful with such a limitation. Kang grimly responds that he'll manage. In a temple, one of the heroes angrily complains about losing battles, but his comrade Choi calms him down, reminding him that they aren't the only ones fighting. Prince Alcus enters and encourages the group, saying they're leveling up quickly even though they're only at level 4. However, he worries about the scarcity of enemies to hunt, which could slow their progress. The commander informs Prince Alcus about strange developments in the forest. Initially, they believed the annihilation of the Null territory was the work of a famous mercenary group. However, further investigation revealed that the sword techniques used to eliminate the Nulls were identical on all the bodies, which suggests it was the work of an order of knights. Prince Alcest orders the commander to delegate the investigation to the Intelligence Guild while he prepares the heroes for an orc hunt. The commander is surprised, but he complies, knowing they need the heroes to grow stronger. Back near the forest on the outskirts of the city, Kang is carrying the injured demon on his back, panting heavily. Prince Alcest is surprised to see him like this. Instantly, Hanwo shouts for the saint. Hanwo's colleagues are also surprised to see him. He screams again, saying he heard she had returned to the temple. Prince Alcus tells him to mind his manners. Hanwo apologizes and tells her that a girl's life is in danger because of him. Suddenly, Princess Atena arrives and is surprised to see the girl. It seems they both know each other. The girl tells them she's now just an ordinary mercenary. After that, Hanwo tells Princess Atena to take the girl to the saint. Meanwhile, the saint arrives and angrily says there's too much noise outside. She asks them what's going on here. Prince Alcest says that the hero Hanwo has returned. Hanwo is about to make a request, but the guards arrest him. At the same time, the saint sees his status window and notes that he's already at level 1 due to the curse. She sees that he has also recruited an excellent comrade. Then the saint looks at the status window of the girl with Hanwo. Her name is Arya, and she is a level 12 player. The saint figures that with a rank B Noble Blessing, she must be a Marchioness or maybe even a Duke's daughter. She remarks that Arya is excellent. Hanwo tells the saint that Arya protected him with her life, proving that she is worthy. The saint tells him to take a look around. She points out that there are Templars and Knights above level 30 who would gladly sacrifice themselves for humanity. She asks him how exactly Arya is so excellent compared to them. Hanwo is surprised to hear this. The saint asks him the same question again. He answers aloud that her potential makes her perfect. The saint tells him that he's probably right. In a few years, she will be a beautiful young woman. Hanwo smiles and tells the saint that he is talking about her talent. She replies that he already has several companions who radiate talent. She also tells him that while he's stuck at level 1, some of his classmates have already reached level 6 in the last 5 days. Hanwo is surprised. He feels like they're making fun of him since he's still stuck at level 1. After that, the saint asks if there is anything else he wants to say. Hanwo is embarrassed. He appeals to the saint, saying that Arya is a special comrade to him, so please heal her hand. She rejects his request, leaving Hanwo stunned. The saint tells him that before asking for a favor, he must first prove his worth. She also tells him he should first worry about paying his debt. She sits down across from him and says that she believes he's taking a saint's miracle too lightly. He replies that's not true. She tells him that in that case, she will share the results of a miracle she recently performed. She orders a priest to read something. The priest begins to read, stating that his nation would like to give the following gifts to the saint for healing the great councilwoman. Celib's 15 spiritual swords that contain the essence of the forest, 200 ancient moonlight tree bows, 600 domesticated unicorns, 15 feathers of a phoenix, and 40 other items to prove their gratitude. The heroes are shocked. After that, she asks Hanwo if he can prove his worth. He replies that she should consider it an investment since he will quickly become stronger. She tells him to come talk to her after he becomes stronger. Hanwo is annoyed. He can also hear his classmates speaking ill of him. He looks dejected. Suddenly, Yubor raises his hand and asks the saint, who seems to be getting carried away, for a favor. He asks if he could accept the sword wielder as his partner. The saint muses that while Yubor seems to be ostracized by the other heroes, his potential is too great to be wasted. She wonders what to do. The saint then tells him that if he proves to be the excellent hero she expects, she can make his request a reality. Turning to Arya, the saint asks to see her hand. The The saint heals her, declaring that from this day forward, she will be the sword and shield of hero Eubora, a duty she must never forget for the rest of her life. Meanwhile, Arya is in absolute shock to see her hand restored and begins to cry. The saint instructs her to go to hero Eubora's side at once. Afterward, the saint informs Prince Alcus that they have wasted enough time on this trivial matter. She urges him to expedite the rest of their plans. As everyone begins to depart, Hango looks utterly dejected. Suddenly, Princess Atena approaches him, saying that while his actions may have gone unnoticed by others, she saw everything. She tells him she knows he was the one who brought Arya to the temple. She also thanks him for saving her childhood friend, much to Hanwo's surprise. The princess then gives him a small item, explaining that it is a token of her gratitude. A magical formation appears as she invites him to become her second apprentice. Hanwo is stunned as he receives a magical blessing. Princess Atena wishes him the best of luck. As she leaves, Hanwo smiles to himself, thinking Princess Atena might actually be into him. Hanwo gets to his feet and declares aloud, "Time for a fresh start." Meanwhile, Kang is in a different situation entirely. Monsters are fleeing for their lives, but he's picking them off one by one. Kang muses that it's just another day of fending off another horde. After a short battle, he finishes them all. Kang notes that these creatures aren't calling for reinforcements like the gnolls did, but since the terrain is flat, there's nowhere for them to hide anyway. He mutters that the beasts aren't even useful for food, then notices that his companion Kogmos no longer has horns. Kang asks if he's hiding them with magic. Kogmos replies that it's a simple trick for when they need to enter a city. Kang asks why he didn't just do it from the start. Kogmos explains that it would have drawn the wrong kind of attention in this region. He adds that it would be far stranger for a normal human to be walking around with half his body destroyed. The clever response makes Kang realize that Kogmos is certainly much smarter than a gnoll. Kang recalls Kogmos saying this was the second closest city, so he had assumed they would arrive fairly quickly. Suddenly, he hears a commotion up ahead and sees orcs attacking a convoy. A fierce battle breaks out between the orcs and the humans. As Kang watches, Kogmos tells him it's fine if he decides not to intervene. Kang replies, "Just because I'm a demon now doesn't mean I'm trying to get cozy with the Demon King's grandma." Kogmos quickly apologizes. Kang says that for now they'll just watch, noting they can at least avenge the travelers later. Kogmos calls him heartless. Kang thinks to himself that it may seem brutal, but it's necessary since he can't yet trust the humans in this world. Back at the battle, the orcs are clearly overpowering the human guards. A few remaining guards make a final stand in front of a carriage, seemingly protecting something important inside. One of the orcs tells his companions that it looks like there's a woman over there. His buddy replies that he doesn't care and tells them to just grab the food, saying it's better for them. Suddenly, two women emerge from a car ready to fight the orcs. The orc leader taunts them, saying they can leave, but it seems they'd rather die. One of the women uses her magic, launching fireballs at the orcs. The other one showcases her sword skills, drawing her blade and leaping in to attack. It turns out she has water powers, and a moment later an explosion erupts. Kang is surprised by this and asks Kogmos if it's magic, but Kogmos dismissively replies that it's nothing special. Kang tells Kogmos that he doesn't like this, prompting Kogmos to ask if he's upset that innocent humans have survived. Kang replies that it's a shame because he thinks he might have lost his chance to get revenge. Kang gets the feeling that these women are some of this world's elites. He figures it's a good idea to get on the good side of powerful people like them. He thinks it would make his life among these barbaric fantasy people much easier. Meanwhile, the women are busy fighting the orcs. Suddenly he shouts, "Hey, what a lovely pig over here." Kogmos is surprised to hear this. Kang thinks that thanks to the hero's curse, the humans won't understand what he shouted, but the orcs will understand it perfectly. On the other hand, the two women are in shock. More orcs begin to arrive, and Kogmos suspects Kang used his curse to summon them. After that, Kang decides to go help the ladies. Kogmos tells him this is different from his original objective, but Kang replies that plans sometimes change. The women are panting from exhaustion, and the orcs laugh at their struggle. Just then, Kang arrives on the scene, surprising the orcs. Kang observes that things look interesting, while the orc leader is confused about why he's there. Kang replies that he's just a humble stranger passing by. The orcs notice that Kang doesn't seem afraid of them at all. One of them throws his sword at Kang, but Kang easily saves himself with a jump. Instantly, all the orcs prepare to kill him. Kang shoves his fingers into an orc's nostrils and sends it flying, shocking everyone. Kang finds this method to be amusing, but also quite unpleasant. Suddenly, the other orcs attack him all at once, but he manages to dodge every strike. Kang can now see through their attack patterns as a red orc lunges at him several times. Meanwhile, Kogmos angrily scolds Kang for letting his guard down. Kang cuts off the red orc's hand, leaving the women speechless. Kang asks Kogmos what he was supposed to be careful about, to which Kogmos replies that it was nothing. Kang notices the orc has turned red, which means it's somehow related to the Nolds. Kang realizes he shouldn't have killed it since he could have observed it more. Afterwards, the two women thank Kang for saving their lives. Kang smiles, realizing he can now understand some of their words. He thinks to himself that his studying is starting to pay off, while one of the women feels uncomfortable with his strange behavior. Seeing an opening, some of the remaining orcs think he must be tired, so they figure they can attack and kill him quickly. Kang then launches the severed red orc's arm at them, much to their surprise. Kang then tells the orcs that any of them who can also turn red should raise their hand. One of the orcs asks how a human can speak their language, but Kang's eyes just glow red as he replies that they can forget it if they can't do it. A little while later, Kogmo approaches. He tells Kang that it's alright, but Kang replies that he wasn't worried about himself. He then points toward the guards and the girls, who are all looking surprised. Kang realizes he caused this with his powers, and figures he needs Kogmo to handle the situation. Kogmo approaches the guards and introduces himself. He explains that while he's sure they've noticed his unique name, his friend unfortunately doesn't speak the common language. The Western continent's language, to be specific. One of the girls looks surprised when she hears about Kang. Kang checks the girl's status window and notes that she has a hero's curse and a C-rank fairy blessing. Kogmo remarks that this is a sign of fantastic potential, considering even humans who marry fairies usually only get an R-rank blessing at most. Kang replies that if a fairy taking her precious first time results in this kind of benefit, he's not surprised. He gets angry, muttering that this whole misunderstanding is that damn goddess's fault. As he's fuming, the girl approaches Kang and says something to him. Kogmo translates that she is apologizing for doubting their savior. Kang smiles, thinking he's managed to secure an excellent translator and has finally gained the trust of the locals. Meanwhile, the goddess looks extremely uncomfortable. She's bothered by Kang since this might force her to reveal her secret. Later that night, the goddess approaches Kang and tells him that being impotent is not a sin. Kang retorts that it's the fault of her blessing. She smugly asks if he isn't happy about no longer being upset by such things. Kang thinks that this trap of a blessing has one advantage that comes with a massive disadvantage: the fact that all his status conditions automatically return to normal. He gets depressed, lamenting how long it's been since he's been able to, Suddenly a lady approaches him and calls his name. Kang recognizes her as Julia, a noble lady from a famous fantasy academy. He thinks this is a bit complicated since his darn translator is already asleep. Meanwhile, the lady sits down a short distance away. He wonders why she called his name only to sit so far away from him. Perhaps she's trying to tell him to leave. At the same time, he notices the lady is looking right at him. Suddenly, she seems to want to say something, but instead just shows him her dagger. Kang assumes she is telling him to show her his powers. In response, Kang shows her his hand crackling with null power, which seems to shock her. She suddenly rushes over to him and says something repeatedly, looking very worried. Kang, completely misinterpreting the situation, thinks she's angry that his power display was smaller than her dagger. After that, the lady leaves in a huff, and Kang sighs that a woman's heart is difficult to decipher. Nearby, the goddess laughs at him, saying that an impotent man doesn't need to understand such things anyway. Outside the room, guards are arresting Hengu, but he tells them they can't stop him since he's a hero too. The head mage coolly replies that he is a failed hero. Hengu is shocked to hear this. The mage explains that since Hengu left the temple and lost its support, he now has 3 options. The first option is to receive the Independence Fund and surrender, in which case he will no longer be allowed to call himself a hero. If he is ever found breaking that rule, he will be executed. Hengu looks devastated by this. The mage tells him that the second option is to return to training, but he can only receive support once he shows promising results. Hengu thinks about how his classmates will mock him. Now he's curious about the third option. The teacher explains that the third option is to commit himself to the temple, where they will take care of everything for him, from finding him a noble woman to marry to securing his retirement. However, he isn't allowed to leave the temple for the rest of his life. Hengu quickly decides on the first option, thinking that he can't live his life trapped. The teacher gives him a contract to sign. Hengu asks why a guarantee is necessary for this. The teacher explains that it wouldn't be right for a hero who leaves the temple to ruin the reputation of the remaining heroes, so it's a security measure. Then the teacher gives Hengu some funds for his independence and a new identity to replace his status as a hero. Hengu is happy after receiving the funds and comments on how different this is from the novels. The teacher is surprised, but Hengu quickly tells him to ignore it, saying he was just talking to himself. Hengu reflects on how in fantasy novels, The characters who abandon kingdoms or temples are seen as hypocrites and villains. Hangu asks the teacher if he can use the money however he wants. The teacher allows it. Leaving the temple, Hangu considers how tempting it would be to get together with a noble girl. However, he decides his path is different, since he's going to live like a true hero. Then he heads to the slave market. Meanwhile, an assistant informs the saint that the hero Hangu has abandoned his mission. The saint is concerned about the decreasing number of heroes. She thinks it will become a problem if their numbers don't increase, since there are only 2 saints on the fantasy continent. Once a real fight begins, she'll have to endure it all alone. The saint asks her assistant about the fairy kingdom and learns that the number of gnolls has decreased. The assistant explains that, reportedly, a mysterious order of knights eradicated the gnolls in the forest. The saint is surprised to hear this and comments that she thought it was a small elite squad that had mastered a unique style of swordsmanship. The saint points out that this isn't something a single order of knights could achieve. The assistant suggests it could be the work of a demon king. The saint is shocked, and the assistant quickly apologizes for his slip-up. The saint advises caution, saying that a hasty judgment can be dangerous, but she acknowledges that this crisis rivals an invasion by a demon king. She orders the assistant to investigate whether a demon king is involved. The saint reflects that the demon kings are mainly located in the east, with some presence in the central region. However, they aren't the type to work in the shadows. She regrets the lack of resources to investigate. Suddenly, a master magician arrives and reports a communication from the academy. He explains that the academy wishes to invite the heroes to commemorate the school break. The saint is surprised that the academy knows about the summoned heroes. She wonders how this information was leaked. The master magician explains that a student saw the status window of the mercenary hero Hangwemio. She sighs, thinking this was all a mistake. She let him do his thing, believing he would get tired quickly and come back. She also points out that while it's good for humanity's hope that heroes are becoming known, they're still far too weak. She considers the invitation from the academy an opportunity for the heroes to meet a teacher or a valued comrade. She tells the master magician that they will review the invitation favorably. Suddenly, a gentleman arrives and reports that they found a bag containing a hero's personal belongings. The saintess is surprised to hear this. Elsewhere, Cogmos and Kang are sitting in a cart. Kang observes that the girls they're traveling with are mercenaries. Cogmos confirms this, saying it's obvious. One of the guards says something to Kang. Cogmos translates, explaining that the guard is asking how Kang is so strong despite being only level 1 and what his training method is. Kang dismisses the question, calling it a superficial excuse to talk to someone. Cogmos asks if he should translate that Kang is uncomfortable with the guard's degenerate greed. Kang immediately stops him. Cogmos tells Kang he doesn't have to hold back since asking about someone's training methods is rude in the first place. He also explains that since a strong body is an asset for a mercenary, they tend to be shameless when it comes to their curiosity. Kang replies that it's fine for the mercenaries to be shameless. Cogmos warns him not to misrepresent his words. He explains that lies don't always work, adding that it's common for mercenaries to die fighting over a simple dispute. Kang suddenly sees his status window and is surprised. The experience penalty inhibiting his growth only applies to quests and achievements. It doesn't affect experience gained through other means. Kang asks Cogmos what he needs to do to become a mercenary. Cogmos replies that Kang has just found a way to get stronger. After a while, Kang and Cogmos finally arrive at the city. Kang is initially excited, but his expression suddenly turns sour. Cogmos notices and asks him what's wrong. Kang replies that he can smell something rotten at the city's entrance. Cogmos explains that this is normal since travelers from all over gather at the gates and many can't wash while on the road. He also reminds Kang that he's hardly one to talk, since he still smells of orc blood. Kang is offended, telling Cogmos he can't believe he'd say something so hurtful. Cogmos just replies that Kang is in no position to complain. Kang changes the subject, mentioning that the mercenary group they were with disappeared upon entering the city. Cogmos tells him not to worry. He explains that mercenaries often have their own agendas and operate on their own terms. Kang decides to get some food instead. He happily grabs some fruit while Cogmos teases him about his huge appetite. Cogmos reminds Kang that they have business to attend to and that the ladies they're with are waiting. Kang reluctantly agrees. Later, one of the women thanks him for saving their lives and suggests that they all stay at the same inn. Kang agrees, but Cogmos seems unenthusiastic. Kang then asks when they can go to the mercenary guild. Cogmos insists Kang clean himself up first if he doesn't want to be expelled from the guild the moment he walks in. At the inn, Kang freshens up while his clothes are cleaned by a slime, a trained creature that eats the dirt off fabric like a natural washing machine. Kang is fascinated by the slime and even plays with it, but Kogmos warns him that trained slimes are expensive and worth their weight in gold, so he shouldn't even think about taking one. After getting cleaned up, Kang complains that he doesn't have any decent clothes to wear. Kogmos, having anticipated this, reveals he already bought some clothes for a reluctant Kang. However, when he leaves the inn, he feels dissatisfied and annoyed with his new look. Meanwhile, Kogmos is having fun with the girls, which makes Kang look more than a little jealous. He mutters to himself, hoping Kogmos gets hit with some divine punishment. To Kang's surprise, the girls soon join them, looking so impressive they catch the eye of everyone around them. One of them apologizes for being late, but Kogmos reassures her, saying they just arrived themselves. However, Kang chimes in, suggesting they grab something delicious to eat first. Kogmos agrees and offers to take them to a good restaurant. Julia, one of the ladies, says something to Kang, and Kogmos translates, explaining that she's interested in going wherever Kang wants to go. This takes Kogmos by surprise and visibly irritates him. Kang, now smiling, tells Kogmos to let her know he wants to eat too. On the other side of the city, Hangwoo arrives at the slave market. He is surprised by how openly it operates. As he walks through the market, he sees a muscular male slave and thinks he'd be perfect for the job. However, Hangwoo evaluates other slaves, trying to determine the best option. Suddenly, someone comments that these slaves aren't any good. Hangwoo turns around to see a fellow hero he recognizes from his training days. He's surprised and curious why the guy's there with a large, intimidating man. The guy casually explains that he also left the training program and took the independence money, just like Hangwoo, who has been nervously keeping it a secret. The guy laughs and assures him there's nothing to worry about. He even suggests they should get along now that they're in the same boat. The guy offers to share some useful information with Hangwoo and points to a man in the market, explaining that he's in charge of the premium slaves who aren't displayed publicly. He adds that if the man finds out Hangwoo is a hero, he will present him with better options. Hangwoo is surprised, but he listens as the guy explains that technically checking someone's status window isn't against the contract. Hangwoo agrees with his logic. Then the guy asks Hangwoo if he has decided which slave to buy. Hangwoo refuses to answer, feeling suspicious of the guy's overly friendly behavior, especially since they barely interacted back on Earth. As Hangwoo leaves the market, the guy shouts after him, inviting him to the inn by the East Gate later to show off their new slaves if he's up for a little bragging. Hangwoo agrees but remains cautious, thinking that the guy seems way too friendly for someone who barely ever spoke to him in the past. Meanwhile, the boy watches him leave, noting to himself that Hangwoo is surprisingly careful. Armed with a solid lead on his ideal choice, Hangwoo approaches the manager of the slave market. He declares his intention to buy an enslaved person. The man, upon reading Hangwoo's status window, realizes he's a hero and gets excited. He greets him warmly, and after a short conversation, the man asks Hangwoo what kind of warrior he's looking for. Hangwoo surprises him by asking for a strong one. Intrigued, the man tells Hangwoo that they have someone who fits the description and decides to make an exception to show her to him. The man leads Hangwoo to a private area, keeping him in suspense. When they arrive, he reveals a powerful warrior named Marasi, who was once a notorious bandit operating in the northern regions of the Kingdom of Evening. She ended up enslaved after her own subordinates betrayed her. Hangwoo is astonished to see her. The man explains that Marasi is incredibly strong, capable of wielding a huge two-handed axe with ease. He orders her to show her status window, revealing she is level 17 and has multiple blessings despite the curse of slavery. The man explains that the slave's curse binds a person to their master, nullifying their free will and ensuring absolute obedience. He assures Hangwoo that a properly given command can prevent any betrayal. Despite these assurances, Hangwoo is still a little uneasy. Perceiving his hesitation, the man laughs and insists he's making this special offer simply to honor Hangwoo. Hangwoo, however, clarifies that while he is looking for a strong warrior, he doesn't necessarily need someone quite as intimidating as Marasi. The man agrees to let him choose from the regular stock and comments that Hangwoo's blessings will surely guide him. Hangwoo takes his time inspecting the candidates and finally chooses 3 women. The man introduces them as Lusa, a level 6 redhead with the blessing of charm. Next is Sarah, a slimmer and more agile warrior. And finally, Kana, a robust yet agile fighter. The man then finalizes the transfer of ownership. He destroys their previous contracts while emphasizing the importance of giving clear orders, since there have been cases of slaves rebelling or escaping. Hangwoo nods, pays the man, and thinks to himself that with the right care and affection, these women will never betray him. He then orders them to follow him telling them he's going to buy them weapons for their upcoming missions. The women obey without question, and Hangu smiles content with his new companions. Meanwhile, at the Mercenary Guild, Kang is having a bit of trouble. He reflects that while eating and visiting the guild went well, he hadn't anticipated needing to provide a signature for registration. Frustrated, he realizes that he never actually learned how to write. Kogmo takes note of his struggle and remarks that many mercenaries face the same problem. He hands Kang a paper with a sample signature and advises him to just copy it. Although annoyed, Kang reluctantly gives it a try. 10 minutes of intense effort later, Kang finally finishes copying the signature. Proud of his work, he looks excited, but Kogmo bursts out laughing, mocking what a laborious process it was. Kang, confused by the reaction, watches as the receptionist simply accepts the paper and completes his registration. Suddenly, Kang feels a strange sensation. He receives a mercenary's blessing and is assigned a D rank in his first assessment. Kogmo smiles and explains that Kang should thank the two ladies nearby, who vouched for his skills with their own high ranks. Kang gets embarrassed, but refuses to thank them directly. Kogmo scolds him, joking that he'll buy Kang a children's storybook to practice his manners. Soon, the ladies approach Kang, and one of them hands him a parchment. Kang reads it, and it turns out to be his first mission: the subjugation of orcs. The task is simple: reduce the orc population and stop them from reproducing. The reward is based on the number of orc noses he brings back. Kang is delighted, calling it a sweet gig, and immediately starts to plan. He mischievously considers using the pretty girls as orc bait. Unbeknownst to him, the women are watching him closely, possibly suspicious of what he's thinking. One of them interrupts Kang's plotting and asks if he's planning another massacre. Kang denies it with a smile, declaring this time it won't be a massacre, it'll be an annihilation. Kang and his party soon find themselves in the middle of an intense battle against the orcs. Julia is fighting fiercely, but looks shocked when an orc grabs her by the face and slams her down with tremendous force. Shaking off the hit, Julia tries to recover. Her partner quickly intervenes, telling her to duck as she hurls a fireball at the attacking orc. The flames engulf the creature, saving Julia. Grateful Julia thanks her, but the other girl advises her not to overdo it, reminding her that there are still tougher battles ahead. Julia, downplaying the concern, assures her that she can handle this. Suddenly, to her surprise, the wounded orc gets back up, ready to attack again. Just when things look dire, another orc attacks the first one from behind and both fall down dead. Meanwhile, Lusa Account's daughter is observing Kang from a distance. Having met kings, merchants, knights, and even fairies in her privileged life, she reflects that none of them are as unique as Kang, who is relentlessly slaughtering the orcs. Kang wielding his power. Nullification Dagger cuts down orcs with ease, despite the limitations of the hero's curse, which could make people suspect he's a demon. However, his fairy's blessing, considered the ultimate proof of a person's true nature, silences any doubt. The remaining orcs, terrified, try to flee, but he pursues them, relentlessly driven by an unwavering determination to exterminate them all. Lusa worried shouts for Kang to stop and rest. Surprised, Kang stops and notices she looks completely exhausted. She's marveling at his efforts, amazed at how he has eradicated nearly all the orcs in the area without even breaking a sweat. Julia soon joins them, asking Lusa if she's okay. Noticing Lusa's tired appearance, Julia playfully teases her for being the first to ask for a break. Lusa responds by pointing at Julia's own trembling legs, which makes Julia blush with embarrassment. Julia then praises Kang, calling him incredible. Lucy agrees, attributing it to his blessings, but Julia clarifies that's not the case. It's not blessings, she says, but his pure talent. Julia explains that his skill with the sword is on another level. She explains that his technique is dangerous and unstable, with the potential to destroy his body if he makes even the slightest mistake, and yet he's kept it up all day. Surprised, Lusa asks if something like that is even possible. Julia admits she isn't certain, pointing out that even she was considered a genius growing up, but Kang's ability seems to go even further. Meanwhile, Kogmo suggests they take a break. He gives Kang an illustrated step-by-step book to help him learn the common language. Kang begins to read, attracting the silent attention of the girls. Meanwhile, Julia announces she has reached level 15, which makes Lusa a little envious as the gap between them grows. She reflects on the system that makes it easier to level up the higher one's ranking is. On the flip side, a drop in rank results in everyone losing. The associated benefits. Julia then declares her goal of achieving rank B, surprising Lusa. Lusa warns Julia not to push herself too hard, but Julia brushes it off, saying they'll be fine with Kang around. Julia adds that although Kang seems overly focused on the house, he's also deeply concerned about ensuring their safety. Lusa mockingly comments that Julia, who claimed not to have any interest in men, seems quite interested in Kang. Julia defensively denies it, explaining that observing another person's movements is essential to mastering swordsmanship. After finishing his reading, Kang suddenly tells the group that it's time to move. Surprised by his quick adaptability, the girls follow him. Lusa silently observes Kang, marveling at how he is both simple and an enigma, a magician and a scholar with a raw, wild side. She concludes that while he certainly sparks her curiosity, perhaps they first need to teach him how to properly speak with women. Meanwhile, in a distant temple, a group of knights and a master magician present a mysterious bag to the saint. In the temple, the saint watches attentively as the bag is opened, revealing its mysterious contents. She examines the items with care and comments that they are not of this world. The master magician confirms her suspicion, pointing to the exceptional craftsmanship and unusual markings on the items. Intrigued, she asks where the bag was found. The master magician explains that it was discovered in the Knoll Forest where the heroes are. He also mentions the knight, who brought it to their attention. The saint asks the knight directly how many people know about the bag's existence. The knight claims that only he and the commander of the knights are aware of it, and the commander had ordered him to report directly to her. Satisfied, the saint acknowledges his diligence and praises his efforts, promising to ensure he serves the temple for life. Euphoric, the knight bows in gratitude, but her tone sharpens as she orders him to forget everything about the bag, warning him that if he fails to do so, he will die. The knight solemnly accepts and leaves with the priest. Once alone with her assistant, the saint ponders the significance of the bag. She orders her assistant to study the letters in the bag and learn their pronunciation, emphasizing the importance of keeping their intentions a secret. The assistant promises to follow her orders. The saint ponders the situation, suspecting that the existence of the exchange might be a mistake on the god's part. She hesitates, questioning whether covering up her discovery is the right thing to do. Before she can delve deeper into her thoughts, her assistant interrupts, informing her of a serious incident in the forest hunter's village. Confused, the saint listens as her assistant explains that Counselor Ace has tried to cover up a brutal murder. The bodies of the perpetrator and the sacrificed fairies were found, and the villagers claim it was the work of a vengeful spirit. The saint considers the possibility that this so-called vengeful spirit could simply be a survivor. She orders her assistant to obtain a sketch of this supposed stranger for further investigation. Meanwhile, Kang sits by a campfire at night, studying an illustrated book. His quiet moment is interrupted when a god appears to observe and comment on the book. Kang jokingly asks if the god likes the book, and the god answers that he does. Curious, Kang asks about the whereabouts of the other gods, wanting to avoid them. The god points in a certain direction, implying that most of the gods reside near the temples. Kang deduces that the temple of the evil order and the goddess's saint must be nearby, and decides the best course of action is to flee northeast until he's strong enough to face them. Suddenly, Kang senses something unusual. Humans have surrounded their camp. He wakes up Cogmos and alerts him to the danger. Cogmos confirms Kang's observation and asks how he can sense the attacker's levels from a distance. Kang explains that gnolls have a similar ability, which leaves Cogmos impressed. Wasting no time, Kang wakes up the girls, who spring into action, alarmed by the imminent threat. The leader of the attacking group steps forward and speaks in his native tongue. Cogmos translates, revealing that the group is demanding tribute from Kang for monopolizing all the orcs in the area. He adds that the attackers promise to spare the noblewomen, but they will certainly kill everyone else if they resist. Kang grins maliciously, mocking the attackers by calling them elegant bastards. The girls shout in defiance, preparing to fight, while Cogmos nervously reminds Kang of the attackers' numerical superiority. However, Kang remains eerily calm, smiling while muttering something incomprehensible. A worried Cogmos asks if Kang is alright, but Kang ignores the question and moves forward with determination. As the tension rises, Kang whispers ominously, "Let's all go to the afterlife together." Kang notes that there are more opponents than he expected. He glances at the girls, realizing it will be tough to fight while protecting them. Suddenly, an idea strikes him, and he shouts, "The strong ones are over here." The surprised opponents fire their arrows, but Kang counters by launching his own. Meanwhile, Kang rushes toward them and kills the man. Everyone is shocked by the sudden arrival of the orcs, who immediately start attacking them. Everyone is stunned to see the orcs, except for Kang, who just smiles and remarks that it's now a double experience event. After that, Kang moves with lightning speed to kill them all. Terrified, one of the men begs Kang to spare his life. Suddenly, their leader appears and shoves him back. The leader furiously vows to kill Kang, who replies that he's impressed the man is still okay. Despite Kang's blow, the leader uses his powers to attack. Suddenly, an orc lunges to kill the leader, but his subordinates intercept and kill the orc. After killing the orc, they all join forces and charge at Kang. He relentlessly uses his power dagger to fight back, killing them, but the leader attacks him from behind. The man smiles, thinking he's landed a successful hit. Kang tells the man that he's a disgrace. The man is terrified. After that, Kang cuts him down, killing him instantly. He then goes over to the girls and notices that they're both fighting off the men and doing quite well. He sees that the two of them are busy wiping out the remaining enemies. A little while later, he arrives at the market with the orc noses. He tells the woman this should be enough. She's stunned to see so many orc noses. Kang had accomplished far more than the nobles. Mrs. Cogmos tells him he's being foolish since the girls are clearly dying of exhaustion. Kang replies that he knows she's referring to Lusa, who has now completed the application test. The girls are overjoyed. Cogmos translates, telling Kang that they're saying they went up 2 whole levels just by partying with him. Julia is now at level 16 and Cogmos is at level 20. Kang smiles and says that even a mediocre demon like her is at level 20. He wonders how much he leveled up himself. It was only 1 level. He asks God what is happening in the world. Meanwhile, in a galaxy far, far away, a god gazes into the distance. In the beginning, the world is empty. Stars form in the vast emptiness, and after a long time living, beings are born. This is a story about a certain god. Soon, living things begin to discover him. People begin to pray to him, and through their faith, he truly becomes a god. The praying beings seek the god's help, and by supporting them, the god finds his existence to be worthwhile. However, over time, more gods appear and begin to help living beings in their own ways as if it were a competition. As the praying beings receive the grace of the gods, they progress in many ways, but countless lives are lost in vain as irreconcilable groups fight violently among themselves. Time passes, and one day, the god finds a man dying in a cave. He approaches the man and asks if he wants to live. The man answers yes, so the god turns him into a baby. After that, the god goes to a nearby town where he finds an older man and his wife. The god blesses them with a child. He is quite proud of the result. After some time, the god visits the baby, who has now grown into a young boy. The god asks the boy how he's doing, and the child looks at him curiously. The boy recognizes him as he is the one who turned him into a baby. The god asks him if there is anything else he desires. The child just trembles and grinds his teeth. Angrily, a woman tells the god that she will curse him. The god explains that the woman he loved was taken from him because she was having a baby. Filled with sorrow, he admits he never even properly confessed his feelings. He laments that he should have been the one to stop her wedding and save her. The god offers an apology and then departs. The child cries out, and the god is told to take responsibility. Meanwhile, our god reflects on where he went wrong and wonders what the other gods are doing. Elsewhere, a man is praying to a different god, asking for a safe journey. A god of war is busy encouraging his followers, while our god remains lost and confused. The god goes on to bless many other lives, but he feels completely disconnected from each one. Hundreds of years pass, and the world changes drastically. Mortals now think of the gods as mere tools to be used. In response, the gods create a new system with rules for heroes, demons, levels, blessings, and curses. All the other gods adapt to this new order, except for our one particular god. Suddenly, the god notices a man named Cain. He has an injured foot, and a woman is with him. Cain tells her to call for a saint right away, but she replies that she was busy with something else while he was fighting. The young man is in excruciating pain. His status window shows that he is at level 38 with numerous blessings and curses. Instantly, the god appears and asks the young man if he wants to live. The boy is startled but says yes, he wants to live. The god then warns him that he will lose everything. Cain replies that anything is better than dying for nothing. The god smiles at his answer. He bestows a blessing upon him. As the god gives his blessing, he thinks about how he might still be needed after all. The young man is cured and overjoyed as his body feels just as it did before his injury. Suddenly, Cain checks his status and is shocked to see he's at level 1. The god reminds him of the warning. Cain replies that he understands completely. He tells the god that the important thing is that he's alive. He'll just have to start over from level 1. The god is relieved after hearing this. Sometime later, one of his party members tells Cain he can no longer adventure with them since he can't level up. The woman from his party apologizes, telling him they simply forgot about him. They then abandon him. Cain gets furious, sarcastically muttering about what a blessing this is. He yells that it's the worst curse imaginable, all the while that same God is watching over him. Cain admits that he was angry at first, but now he feels nothing at all. He reasons that the god saved his life, so he's going to stop holding a grudge and complaining. He then tells the god that he wants to offer him some advice. The god is intrigued. Cain tells him to never give that blessing to anyone ever again, calling it a curse that takes away things more valuable than life itself. He also says that a gift that returns him to level 1 is something he'll never accept again, not even on his deathbed. The god is stunned. He had been in denial until now, but he finally admits the truth to himself. Gods are no longer needed in this world. More time passes, and the god once again finds a dying young man. It's Cain. Simply curious, the god blesses him because Cain has the curse of the hero and is on the verge of death. The god might have changed the name of his blessing, but he knows Cain would inevitably resent him if he found out the truth. And today, just as the god predicted, Cain discovers the secret behind the blessing. Suddenly, Cain says aloud that this is a real shame since his levels have reset again. He tells the god it's pretty obvious. When you think about it, he just wasted all that time grinding on pigs. Meanwhile, a certain god seems to be deep in thought. Suddenly, Khan exclaims that they absolutely have to buy some illustrated books. The god begins to pray, and Khan asks what he's praying for. The god simply replies that it's a secret. Elsewhere, Hangu is on the ground nursing some minor injuries. He and his party were in the middle of a fight against some gnolls. They've just finished killing the gnolls. Hangu praises his teammates, happy that they're finally starting to work well as a unit. He tells them they'll be hunting like this from now on, so they'd better get used to it. Hangu figures that since the gnolls are only level 4, while he and his party members are at levels 5 and 6, hunting them should be a piece of cake. He thinks he spent almost all of their funds on supplies, but now he can finally start saving. Then he suddenly realizes one of the gnolls is still alive. Hangu instantly uses his blessing magic, incinerating the last gnoll. Hangu seems pleased, thinking that the blessing magic he received from Princess Athena already packs the kind of firepower a main character should have. Suddenly, Park Hanung arrives with his guard, remarking to Hangu that he showed up at the perfect time and was about to lend a hand if things got dangerous. Hangu retorts that if he wants to hunt, he should go find his own spot, because Hangu was here first. Park Hanung just smirks and says he doesn't feel like it. Hangu thinks to himself that just as he expected, this guy is completely useless. Back in his original world, Park Hanung was the type to always hang out in groups and intimidate people. He even mocked Hangu and called him stupid. Hangu thinks that in this fantasy world, he's the hero and the main character, so no one can push him around anymore. So Hangu tells him to bring it on if he's got the guts. Park says he's more than ready. As everyone prepares for a fight, Park's slave steps toward them. The girls in Hangu's party are terrified at the sight of him. He looks monstrous. Hangu tells them to get on the defensive while he prepares his magic fireball. All of a sudden, the slave takes them all down in an instant. Hangu is stunned. Park smugly asks him if he understands what's going on now. Hangu gets angry and asks if he's using some kind of dirty trick. Park replies that Hangu must be blind if he can't see that his slave's level is just overwhelmingly higher. Park gives him a wicked smile and reminds Hangu what he said earlier. "I told you to come at me if you could." The girls are cowering in fear. After that, he offers Hangu to his slaves. Hangu is in complete shock. Meanwhile, back at the city library, Khan is browsing through illustrated books. He's looking at a book on weaponry and mentions to the god that since he can't level up, finding a powerful weapon is his only real option. Cogmos, the god, tells him that he's clearly been reading too many fairy tales, and that legendary weapons like that have all been confiscated. He also adds that Khan seems to have forgotten that even the nobles confirmed such things don't exist, with the sole exception of a rumored treasure island somewhere out at sea. Cain figures that if it's such a dangerous relic, then any excavation efforts are probably on hold. He smiles, saying that sounds very tempting. Cogmos smiles and explains that the kingdom's finest knights guard the entrances to those kinds of relics. Cain asks just how strong these knights are. Cogmos assures him that they are far stronger than he is. Hearing this, a dejected Cain leaves, saying he needs some fresh air. Outside, he reflects on how impossible everything seems at level 1. Model. He reflects on the knights, recalling how he once thought that they were just empty tin cans full of nothing but boasts and hot air. He grows despondent, thinking there's no way out of his predicament. The god residing within him offers some encouragement. Suddenly, an orc shows up and demands he hand over everything he has. Kang tells him he's too depressed to deal with this right now. The orc is stunned because Kang is speaking fluent Orcish. Kang tells him to scram while he's feeling generous, but the orc, sensing weakness, attacks him anyway. Kang blasts him in the chest, with null power sending the orc flying. Kang pins him down, lamenting about how the orc could never understand the pain of having your entire world destroyed. He winds up for another punch, yelling about how there aren't even any relics left to excavate. Overwhelmed with rage, he wonders what he's supposed to do in a fantasy world with no hopes or dreams. He pummels the orc several times until the creature finally yells for him to stop claiming there is a relic. Kang freezes, surprised by this revelation. The orc pleads with him to stop insisting that a relic really does exist. Kang's mind races, assuming the orc is just lying to escape. The orc insists he isn't lying, swearing there's a great orc relic nearby. His demeanor changes instantly. Kang calls the orc friend and asks him to elaborate on this relic. Meanwhile, the orc is practically in tears, partly from the beating and partly because there are so many different regional dialects. On the Western fantasy continent, people use unique descriptors like dragon-level knight or a sliver of a cowardly monster to express things. So Kang wonders, what does it mean when the orc says something is orc level? It probably means it's good enough. Sometime later, Kang follows the orc to another location. Kang tries to ask him a question, calling him friend again, but the orc quickly stops him. Kang tells him he should consider himself lucky. He explains that it's not every day you find a human friend you can communicate with so well. The orc retorts that he's not an idiot. He knows real friends don't beat each other up. Kang laughs. The orc says he can guide him to the location, but he won't be able to enter it himself. Kang agrees. The orc explains that he doesn't know why. It's just been that way since he was born. He then announces that they've arrived as the relic is right in front of them. Kang is thrilled at first, but then realizes he can't see anything there at all. When he looks closer, he spots the relic, and the orc, satisfied, decides to take his leave. He figures Kang is on his own now. Meanwhile, Kang marvels that he's never seen such a massive city before. The orc is shocked to see him there and asks how he got in. Kang points out that the orc is the one who brought him here. The orc clarifies that this is an orc sanctuary. Only those below level 9 are able to enter. Kang smiles and says that's no problem, since he's only level 1. Suddenly, other orcs start chucking spears at him, but he easily avoids them. One of the many orcs surrounding him tells him he has only himself to blame for trespassing in the orc sanctuary. He tells Kang that setting foot here means he must be level 9 at most. His original guide warns the others to be careful, claiming that Kang is incredibly powerful. Meanwhile, Kang casually tells them to come at him whenever they're ready. He runs towards the orcs, his eyes glowing menacingly. They are shocked to see Kang flying towards them. Meanwhile, the god is praying for the souls of these countless pigs. Kang hides from the orcs and they can't seem to find him. Finds them by the scent of their blood. However, Kang is quickly growing tired of this. There are just so many dead orcs. Kang feels like he's been hunting them forever. He feels like he's just going around in circles, trying to find the exit. Suddenly another group of orcs finds him and tries to capture him for dinner. They give chase for a while. They all start to get tired, but Kang is still full of energy. He declares, it's time to end this. After a short battle, he kills them all and takes a seat on the pile of their bodies. There are also some slimes nearby. Kang summons a few of them to gather the orc bodies for him. Kang checks to see if there have been any changes. He looks at his status window and sees that his slaughter skill has ranked up to C, but he's also received a new curse massacre. This curse means that the orcs he killed will now haunt him in his dreams. He's a little worried at first, but then he remembers that he doesn't sleep. Kang notes that not only has his old curse become more powerful, but he's gained a new one. He complains to God that this is getting to be too much. He argues with God that getting a curse as a reward for saving people is completely unfair. A divine being replies that he should try seeing it from the orcs' perspective. Kang thinks back to all the people he rescued who had been captured by the orcs. He recalls that when he saw them, they were trying to tell him something. Kang heads down and feels like he should have brought Cogmos with him. Just then, Kang calls out an orc that was playing dead. He tells the orc he knows it's alive and to get up. He asks the orc how to get out of this place because it's clear that no matter how much he walks, he always ends up back in the same spot. The orc explains that the city has different entrances and exits and that the city center is the only way out. Kang finds this odd since he was trying to get to the center, not wander the outskirts. After a while, he approaches a specific spot and thinks this must be the exit the orc was talking about. He looks around the area but sees nothing. There's nothing special about it at all. He figures he might as well try using magic to open a portal since this is a fantasy world. Suddenly a bright light emerges from that very spot. An orc appears and asks Kang if he's the human who destroyed their base, demanding an explanation. Kang notes the orc's impressive entrance and immediately knows this one is much stronger than him. Kang explains that he asked the orcs to move, but they refused. The orc leader asks if he really massacred 300,000 orcs just for that. He introduces himself to Kang as the guardian of the city and its orcs. He tells Kang that he won't let any human who has discovered the city's secret escape. Kang drops his bag and says this is for the best. because now he gets to fight a guardian. Kang readies himself for battle. He tells the orc that being a guardian implies there's a treasure to protect. Kang then leaps forward using his Knoll's power to attack. Kang decides to put everything he has into a single attack. The orc guardian is also ready for a fight. He hurls his spear toward Kang and their energies collide. Kang immediately realizes this orc is on a whole other level compared to the others. The guardian's strike is swift, cutting off Kang's hand and slashing across one of his eyes. Kang collapses to the ground. The guardian is impressed, telling him he just barely dodged what should have been a fatal blow. He also tells him that he's not done yet, and that he will now make him pay for the 300,000 orc lives he took. He tells Kang not to expect an easy death. However, Kang just uses his powers to start recovering. He smiles and tells the Guardian he's a fantastic judge. The Guardian tells Khan that he knows he's relying on something and asks if he's immortal. Khan responds vaguely, implying he has some power that's keeping him going. The Guardian dismisses this, stating that it doesn't matter because this place only has one exit. He tells Kang that either way, he'll be trapped in the city until he dies of old age, even if it takes a century or a millennium. Kang thinks to himself that since there's nothing else to do, he should start contemplating his next move. Meanwhile, Yubora is sitting in her room when Arya enters and remarks on how fantastic it is that she's already at level 7. Bora replies that it's all thanks to her blessing, and although she didn't earn the hero's blessing through her own efforts, she was born with the blessing of a noble. She then looks at her status window a little surprised. Arya tells her that this is proof she is a duke's daughter, a high-ranking noble. Yubora thinks this is fantastic, but she also sees it as a blessing that gives her an easy pass in life. Arya then tells Yubora that even though her blessing might seem insubstantial, she was once severely reprimanded by her mother for thinking she didn't deserve it. Arya fiercely challenges her to repeat that to the countless people who sacrificed everything to acquire such a blessing. Yubora reflects that blessings come with responsibilities and thanks Arya for the valuable lesson. Then Arya asks Yubora if she thinks the hero Hongwu will be okay. Yubora asks if Arya likes him, and she replies that she's not sure. Just then, someone knocks on the door, announcing that the saint has come to meet with Yubora. Arya is surprised to hear this, and the saint enters apologizing for visiting at such a late hour. The saint greets Yubora, mentioning that she came for a chat. Yubora asks Arya to bring some tea, and after a short while, they begin their conversation. The saint asks Yubora if she's had any problems living in this new world. Yubora replies that she hasn't had too many. The saint expresses her happiness hearing that Yubora has adapted well to this new world. Then the saint changes the subject to the heroes who are currently competing amongst themselves. She expresses concern about the problems caused by this competition and asks Yubora to let her know if she sees any signs of the heroes starting to fall. Both Arya and Yubora are surprised. The saint goes on to explain that soon heroes will appear who have been corrupted and seduced by their own blessings. And Yubora, now thinking about Kang, wonders if he's okay and if he has returned home yet. Suddenly, the saint asks if she knows someone named Kang. Startled, Yubora spills her tea. She asks why the saint is asking about him. The saint responds that she knows him a little, as they were classmates. The saint insists that Yubora tell her everything, acting like an older sister. Yubora is surprised by the saint's change in tone. Later in her room, the saint is thinking about Yubora and Kang. She knows that Yubora is very interested in Kang, as she had talked about him for hours. The saint holds Kang's insignia and reflects on how he is the one who refused to be a hero and was sent back by the goddess. She is concerned that if it's revealed that Kang doesn't restore the hero's confidence, it could damage the relationship with the gods, causing their faith to hit rock bottom. The saintess considers the possibility that it would be a huge problem if Kang were to die. All she has to do is hide the evidence, but she's a little worried on the off chance that Kang is still alive. Meanwhile, a certain arrogant god of benevolence is watching over her. The saintess, sensing this, is startled and her breath hitches. The god of heroes knows their locations because he gave them their blessings, and the saintess realizes that if he can't find Kang, her entire plan could be compromised. The saintess believes she must act quickly to find him and erase all evidence of his existence. Her most urgent task is to put together a search party without anyone knowing. Meanwhile, the god observes the saintess spying on her plan and watches as she silently slips away. Kang continues his intense battle with the orc guardian, determined to fight until his last breath. The guardian asks him how long he plans to endure this pointless struggle, to which he replies that he'll keep fighting until he dies, never giving up on defeating him. Their battle rages on, but Kang still can't overcome the Guardian's strength, and the Orc's spear hits him repeatedly. In the middle of the fight, a young man named Bruce shows up announcing that he's finally at the right level. Bruce was the temporary leader of a group of locals who had been rescued from an Orc hideout. However, Kang confronts Bruce. Just as the situation gets tense, a girl appears, causing Bruce to flee in terror. Kang tells the girl she can do whatever she wants, as he needs to stay focused on his plan to defeat the Orc Guardian. The next morning, Kang, still deep in thought, believes he has come up with a solid plan to defeat the Guardian. However, he then notices the girl sleeping nearby, which piques his curiosity. The god warns Kang to mind his own business, but Kang remains resolute, thinking that defeating the Guardian of the Ruins is still the top priority. He begins to meditate in preparation for the next battle. He believes that using his null powers will be the key to defeating the Guardian. Kang continues to practice tirelessly, showing his progress to the god. He asks if his movements are similar to the Orc Guardian's swordsmanship, and the god confirms that they are. Kang feels confident after practicing all day and night, and as a result, his status window updates. His blessing level increases, and he feels a great sense of accomplishment. However, his joy is short-lived when he notices that his curse level has also increased. The increase in the hero's curse means the goddess has taken notice, and this worries Kang. Despite the curse, he stays focused and decides it's time to make his move against the Orc Guardian. Once again, Kang approaches the ruins where the Guardian resides. Upon seeing Kang return, the Orc Guardian expresses his surprise. He asks if Kang is ready to die again, but Kang replies that this time he won't be running away. The Guardian seems skeptical, but Kang tells him he doesn't care whether the Guardian believes him or not. The Orc offers to show Kang the ruins, but Kang quickly realizes the Guardian has set a trap. He sarcastically remarks that it's shameful for such a great warrior to rely on traps in combat. As Kang observes, he notices that the Guardian can escape from the ruins, so he formulates a plan to use that to his advantage. With a little strategy, Kang plans to gain the upper hand. He advances through the ruins, but when he arrives, he finds nothing. The Guardian reveals that this place was once a training ground for heroes, but not for the Orcs, since their race wasn't chosen by any god. He tells Kang that humans became arrogant and careless, which allowed the Orcs to take control of the place. Furthermore, the Guardian explains that the ruins are full of blessings, but were also designed to prevent powerful beings from entering. However, the Guardian believes that as long as Kang remains alive, it will be impossible for them to rebuild their city. That's why he intends to kill Kang. Kang smirks while listening to the Guardian's words, indicating that he's ready for the battle ahead. Kang tells the Guardian he wants to ask him one question before they fight. He asks the Guardian if there is any treasure in the ruins. The Guardian replies that there are weapons left behind by the heroes who graduated from the training grounds. Kang thinks about what he could possibly do with a bunch of entry-level weapons. He figures he's doomed. Suddenly, the Guardian leaps up and tells Kang that the conversation is over. He tells him that the grudge of his 300,000 comrades will be settled here. Kang instantly draws his dagger and clashes with the Guardian. He strikes several times with his dagger. The Guardian is surprised, thinking that Kang has improved a lot in just one day. Suddenly, he notices that Kang is moving toward the exit. He runs to chase him down, angrily yelling that he'll never let him escape the ruins. He tries to strike him with his spear, but fails. Kang dodges and tells the Guardian that he's been thinking about how to get out of the ruins since yesterday. Meanwhile, a portal appears. The Guardian is surprised to see it, and Kang also looks at the portal, realizing this is his way out. Kang feels relieved and says that setting this up peacefully without a fight was a great plan. He admits that he didn't think it would disappear completely. He says that he can't level up anyway, so there's no need to work so hard. As long as he can get the treasure, that's good enough for him. The Guardian points him in the direction of the treasure. Kang sees it and thinks that there's a place like that behind all the destroyed buildings. He believes there really must be a treasure there. After a while, he finds the treasure and is overjoyed. He holds up a sword from the pile. He realizes that it's the sacred sword of a novice hero. The sacred sword has a simple appearance without any decorations, but it's a powerful weapon full of divine energy that shines intensely. Kang knows it's a weapon for beginners, but he's curious as to why it was left behind. Kang starts to toss the sword aside. The Guardian tells him that the sacred sword can only be wielded by heroes. Suddenly, Kang feels the sword become incredibly heavy. The Guardian taunts him that he can't have it since he isn't a hero. Kang replies that this must mean the sword hates cursed heroes. He shatters the sword with his dagger. Kang says if he can't use it, it's only fair that no other hero can either. The Guardian sarcastically admires his sense of justice. Then Kang proceeds to destroy every sword there. He picks up the last one and is about to break it, when suddenly he feels this sword is lighter than the others. Realizing this sword doesn't affect the curse, Kang declares that in that case he'll just destroy everything else. He destroys everything in the treasury except for the last sword. After that, he checks his status window where he finds the curse of the Holy Sword. Kang gets furious upon receiving the curse of the Holy Sword. Meanwhile, Moyon sees Choi at the temple. Choi checks her status window and discovers a new blessing. Moyon notes that Choi has so many blessings without a single curse. She figures that if this is the reward, she'll have to put up with the fatigue. She realizes this must be what they mean by God's favor, since she received a blessing in just a few days. Choi believes that with this growth rate, the next tournament will be an easy victory for her. She thinks she'll prove it to everyone by winning the Sacred Sword Prize. Elsewhere, a hero and a demon, king, a prince, and a princess knights, villainesses, and even tyrants are all common tropes in romance fantasies. So, anyone will do. A girl named Ham is thinking about all of this. Suddenly she screams, asking why she has to struggle so much. A boy tries to calm her down. She feels disappointed because she dreamed of being protected by a handsome gentleman, but instead she has Shield A, who is shy, silly, and ranked 4th overall. Shield B, who is selfish, cunning, and ranked 5th overall. And Shield C, a concept fanatic who listens intently and is ranked 7th. She sighs, thinking that she only has these 3 shields. Suddenly, she apologizes for being so hard on them. One of the boys asks her why she called them, and she replies that it's about an important matter. She tells them she has some secret information. Soon they'll be choosing a hero to send to the academy. One of the boys gets angry. She tells them that she's going to enter the academy, and that's where her true fantasy life will begin. Suddenly, Shield C leans in and asks if anyone who wants to enter is allowed to. Moyon responds that they prioritize heroes with high overall scores, and that only 4 people in total will be selected. The boy says there's going to be bloodshed within the faction, but she claims she has nothing to worry about. After that, another boy asks her why she's sharing this information with them. Moyon replies that she wants them to all enter the academy together. She also tells them that she's completely serious about this. Shield B gets angry and tells her he doesn't want to clean up her mess with some prince on a white horse, and then storms off. Moyon promises him that she won't make a mess, and if she breaks her promise, she'll grant him one wish. The boy is surprised to hear this. She adds that the gods are listening to everything. Suddenly, Shield A steps forward. She tells Moyon that she'll join her. The third boy, Shield C, also agrees. After that, the second boy says that no matter how he thinks about it, he feels like he's being tricked, but he agrees to go along with it anyway. Moyon is thrilled and thanks everyone. Meanwhile, back at the ruins, Kang is still fuming about the curse. He complains they can't just curse him for breaking a couple of swords. He then reads the details of the curse of the Holy Sword. He picks up the Holy Sword and says that its resistance to destruction even applies to a Holy Sword. If it's defective, then what am I supposed to do? Meanwhile, the god offers his condolences to the creator. Kang tells her that the creator probably didn't know a hero would be the one to break the Holy Sword. Considering the countless holy swords, there's only one left that actually grows stronger from a curse. After that, he tells the god that he needs to get out of there. He arrives at the spot where he thinks the orc disappeared. Kang wonders how to activate the portal. Suddenly, he spots the orc guardian reappearing and charging at him, ready to kill. Kang senses that this time things are different. He's ready for a fight. He tells the orc guardian that if he leaves the ruins, he will start to age. The guardian lunges to attack him, but Kang is prepared. He's ready too and says it's time to test out his holy sword. He strikes the orc guardian, sending him flying. Kang says it's his turn to cut off an arm now. The orc guardian tells him that the price of consuming his youth is steep, then uses his powers to heal his arm. He tells Kang that he has been ignoring the deaths of 300,000 of his comrades, all to preserve his own youth with dirty tricks. He leaps and creates a circle with his powers to attack Kang. Kang is fully aware of his movements. The orc guardian attacks, but Kang slices his throat with the holy sword. Kang tells him a full day has passed, yet there's been no progress. Kang says he doesn't need to use tricks, explaining he only resorted to them when he was weaker than his opponent. The god tells him that the fight isn't over yet. Suddenly, Kang realizes the orc guardian is still alive, regenerating his head. The orc guardian comes at him again, but Kang grabs his face and slams him into the ground. Kang thinks that this time the guardian will surely die, but the orc guardian is still alive. Now annoyed, Kang declares that the guardian will die if he's thrown out of the ruins. Suddenly, the orc guardian tells Kang that he has lost and begs him not to throw him out of the ruins. He says he'll do anything Kang asks. Kang is surprised by the guardian's sudden plea. The guardian tells him that he knows Kang wants to leave this place and offers to move the city entrance closer to the holy sword. He says that only a hero can wield the holy sword. Kang brandishes his sword and asks if he's referring to this one. The Orc Guardian is shocked and says he already knows that Kang is the hero. Kang then checks the Guardian's status window and sees that he's level 8 and also carries the hero's curse. Kang is surprised to discover this. The Orc Guardian explains that this is what usually happens when someone kills a hero. Kang then asks about the curse of the ruins. The Orc Guardian explains that it's like a quest. If he stays in the ruins, he's immortal. He also reveals that he is the final boss meant to test new heroes. Kang replies that this means he isn't a guardian for humans. The Orc Guardian clarifies that he never claimed to be a guardian for humans, but rather the guardian of the orcs protecting his family's home. Kang tells him that either way, he's still lost. The Orc Guardian starts to cry. Kang comments that even the demon he knows has weak tear ducts, but this Orc Guardian is proving to be a real challenge. The Orc Guardian asks Kang if he's going to let him go. Kang replies that he never said he would let him go. The Orc Guardian tells Kang that he should leave immediately. He tells Kang to leave as soon as possible, but Kang finds it difficult to trust the Orc. After thinking it over, Kang tells the Guardian to send the humans back. The Orc Guardian agrees, saying the city shouldn't be revealed to humans, but admits he can't reject Kang's request. Kang addresses the humans as they prepare to go. Everyone is silent, but some of the humans show their support for Kang. The portal appears and Kang feels a sense of familiarity, comparing it to when the goddess sent him back in time. The goddess starts to worry that he could be in danger again. Kang asks the Orc Guardian what he should do if he needs to return. The Orc Guardian replies that if Kang speaks to the sacred sword, she will listen. Kang finds the Orc's advice surprisingly reliable, but the goddess assures him that she's certain it will work. The goddess insists again that it's safe, and Kang says he believes her. Kang enters the portal, and everyone passes through to the other side. Finding the new place strange, Kang reopens the portal and sends the humans back to the city. He then confronts the goddess, reminding her that she said this was a safe place. Looking around, he notices pieces of clothing on the bed and comments that a noblewoman with a sacred sword must have lived here. He notices that the sacred sword is displayed as a decoration on the wall, which makes him realize the room's owner is no ordinary person. The goddess tells him, again, that it's a safe place, but Kang replies that this just means the biggest danger will probably come later. The goddess confirms his suspicion. Kang says they need to leave quickly, but suddenly he notices something is wrong. He sees a woman's purse in the room and wonders why it's there. Meanwhile, in the hunter's village, Princess Athena is teaching her students. She tells them that the Ada people have been in a state of chaos recently due to many incidents, so they must be careful not to disturb the residents. The heroes seem curious about her words. Princess Athena warns them to be cautious and not bother the saint. Meanwhile, a villager accompanies the saint to the site of a recent incident. The saint observes the area and comments that it seems to have been cleared up. The man suddenly bows and apologizes to her. The saint explains that she came here because she'd heard about a mysterious massacre. Then she asks the man if it's true that the elder Celib was imprisoned here. The man confirms it, and the saint asks if he knows the value of the famous elder. The man seems confused, and the saint assures him that it's fine whether he knows or not. She explains that the elder Celib is the guardian of the flame. Despite his weakness in direct combat, the animals he raises are incredibly strong, especially the phoenix that earned him the title Guardian of the Flame. The saint continues saying that disrupting the peace between humans and fairies is unacceptable and starting a war is unforgivable. However, since the person in charge has already forgiven them, she won't get involved any further. The man is deeply grateful. Then the saint asks the man about this person in charge. The man describes him as someone with short hair and black, just like the heroes she visited today. Surprised, the saint asks for the hero's name, but the man tearfully admits he doesn't know. With nothing else to go on, the saint decides they should focus on giving the heroes a tour of the town for now. Her assistant notices that the saint seems worried, likely thinking about Kang. The saint admits she's wondering how Kang could have survived, but she knows it has to be him. She says that no matter how many blessings someone has, it should have been impossible to defeat the gnolls at level 1. She compares his feat to her own, heroes noting that even they in their prime couldn't have done better than face 2 gnolls at level 1. She marvels at how Kang managed to pull off such a feat all by himself. The saint wonders which god could have blessed him, since all the gods are currently inside the temple. Her assistant suggests that if the spirit and the owner of the bag are the same person, they should confirm the connection. The saint replies that she can still control the heroes, so everything's fine. She considers it dangerous to take the heroes to the ruins, but decides they won't get caught right away. She adds that the only one who knew Kang's name is dead, so there's no concrete evidence. Then the assistant brings up the tournament information leak. The saint replies that she already knows and is just pretending that she doesn't. She says that managing one's own data is their own responsibility. Changing the subject, the saint mentions that the hero Moon seems to be improving enthusiastically. She just smiles and plays coy. She isn't sure why young Moon wants to go to the academy, but she promises to do her best to prepare her for the tournament. Elsewhere, it starts to rain and the students begin to get annoyed. Choi observes the situation and notices that everything feels a bit too relaxed, almost as if everyone is on a picnic. He sees no reason for them to be worried about the tournament. Suddenly, Choi spots someone standing in the shadows. Alarmed, he tells the other heroes to call for Princess Atena, suspecting that gnolls might appear. They immediately realize, however, that the person in the dark is the hero Hangwoo, who appears to be slightly wounded. Choi approaches him and comments that he looks like a total mess. Hangwoo, surprised to see them, tells Choi that his wound is a medal, an honorary medal of victory. A bewildered Choi asks him to clarify. Hangwoo explains that it's a symbol of his success in a royal battle, something the others would find unthinkable. Hangwoo challenges Choi to a duel if he doesn't believe him. Choi agrees, saying he'll show Hangwoo the difference in their skill levels. He confidently draws his sword. Hangwoo, despite knowing Choi is at a higher level and possesses the blessing of magic, activates his own blessing of revenge, determined not to lose. Just as the fight between Hangwoo and Choi is about to start, Arya steps between them and urges them to stop. She admits that she can't stop the fight entirely, but reminds Choi that Hangwoo is injured and it wouldn't be a fair fight. Hangwoo is surprised to see Arya intervene, but Choi agrees, stating he doesn't want any excuses later and that it has to be a fair fight. Suddenly, the saint appears, drawing everyone's attention. She scolds Hangwoo for causing trouble outside the temple and offers to heal him to make the fight fair. Then she turns to Choi, encouraging him to finish it quickly. Choi, brimming with confidence, taunts Hangwoo, stating that now everyone will witness the skills he's honed in real combat. Hanu, lost in thought, remembers the promise he made to himself after witnessing Park Hanung's betrayal and the despair of the women they took. He swore to become stronger and never let his guard down again. As Hanu prepares his status window, suddenly updates. He notices that he has received the Blessing of Vengeance, a unique ability that strengthens him against powerful enemies he has marked for revenge. He briefly thinks about his targets, Park Han-young and Choi Gangman. Driven by his determination, Hanu moves forward, declaring that he is the protagonist of this world. However, his confidence wavers momentarily when a seemingly simple slime overpowers and defeats him, demonstrating a much higher level. His status window updates, again revealing a strange curse that limits his growth. Confused, Hanu wonders how he could have been afflicted with such a curse and why Arya, who should have known, never warned him. Accepting the situation as a protagonist's destiny, Hanu decides to fight back. As the battle begins, he throws a fireball at Choi, who easily defends with his superior speed and agility thanks to his blessing of speed. Their powers clash, creating a spectacle for the onlookers. Choi acknowledges Hanu's recent improvement, but warns him that his magic is still insufficient. Hanu, determined to prove his worth, gathers his energy and prepares a massive fireball. Choi dismisses it as an ineffective attack and dodges it effortlessly. However, when the fireball explodes, a second, more powerful explosion follows, taking Choi by surprise. This sudden display of magical growth surprises everyone present. Choi barely manages to evade the attack using all of his agility. He mockingly tells Hanu that landing a single blow won't guarantee victory. Frustrated and determined, Hanu replies that the fight isn't over yet. As the battle intensifies, Choi's sword begins to glow, signaling a final attack. At the same time, Hanu charges another enormous fireball, pushing his limits to the max. Just as their final attacks collide, a huge explosion erupts, engulfing both combatants in the aftermath. When the dust settles, both Hanu and Choi are on the ground, visibly shaken and injured. The Saintess, observing the chaos, orders her assistant to clear the area immediately. Although the fight ends without a clear winner, it leaves everyone amazed by the power and determination shown by both fighters. Na is in a dangerous situation and wonders why the Green Guardian would send him to such a perilous place. Suddenly, Kogmos appears, surprising the king. Kogmos casually comments that he had initially planned to leave the day before, but he missed the opportunity due to the unexpected arrival of someone he absolutely had to avoid. When the king asks if it was the Saintess who had appeared, Kogmos gloomily replies that if the Saintess had arrived, he would already be dead. Instead, he reveals that the person who arrived was none other than Prince Alzace, the first heir to the throne of the Swordmaster Kingdom and one of the 3 best knights in the kingdom. He explains that Prince Alzace is part of the second generation of powerful beings, living reminders of the era of the legendary Night King and Monster Queen. While the king changes his clothes, Kogmos continues to warn him. He reports that the prince has expressed interest in getting to know him, but that he must avoid revealing anything about Kogmos. The prince, being a paladin blessed by the saint, would be able to immediately perceive Kogmos' demonic nature. The carefree king tries to brush it off, but a frustrated Kogmos insists that he take this seriously. Their conversation is interrupted when a group of noble ladies arrives, much to Kogmos' irritation. He sarcastically comments on the king's popularity with the ladies, but the king suspects they've just come to ask for help with leveling up again. Kogmos scolds the king, saying he trivializes other people's feelings and warns that this attitude will leave him single. The women, however, express their sadness, thinking the king had left without letting them repay him for his help. As the conversation continues, Kogmos notes that the king is cursed again and asks if the king killed a warrior or did something reckless. The king denies it, but Kogmos warns him that if he stays in the city, his life could be at risk. When Kogmos suggests leaving, the king grabs him by the neck, demanding to know who would translate for him if he left. Kogmos suggests finding a slave blessed with the gift of tongues, pointing out that with enough money they could acquire such a person. The king, growing increasingly frustrated, accuses Kogmos of planning to abandon him from the very beginning. Their argument is interrupted by the women who have returned dressed in stylish outfits. Kogmos mocks the king's ignorance, implying that